Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Well, hello and welcome back, ladies and gents. It's been a while since we've been in action for the GT Open Series, but it's Premier Endurance League. It's a Sunday night, and we're back on with another journey through one of the icons in terms of international endurance racing. Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the hills of Belgium. Circuit Spa-Francorchamps in Stavelot, which is conveniently one of the corner names. Scotty Rankin and David Hames to bring you all the racing action here tonight, Dave. And you love this place because you've got a bunch of corner stats and information for me about this. So, shall we? What have you got for me about this lovely, lovely racetrack?
Well, it's great to be here, and I've been waiting all day for Sunday night. Circuit Spa-Francorchamps, one of the greatest GT endurance racing tracks anywhere to be found in the world, but where it will be found in the world is in the sort of southeast of Belgium, in and amongst the mountains. It's a big circuit. Geographically, at about 7 kilometers long, it dwarfs almost every other permanent road course, your only exceptions being the Nordschleife, Le Mans, the GT layout of the Bend, and at 7 kilometers it is longer than Mount Panorama Bathurst, but what it doesn't have is more elevation change. It is a serious amount of elevation change around here, but it's just fractionally less than can be found at Bathurst. Massive speeds up Eau Rouge and Radion and on the Kemmel Straight towards the highest point at Lacombe and Malmedy. Always an overtaking opportunity there. Descending downhill, so many medium and high speed corners for these GT cars, leading you to another big stop at turn 18, the bus stop chicane, and at La Source turn 1. This, however, is the track map for the GP layout. We are on the endurance layout. The start, finish, and timing line is between La Source and Eau Rouge.
Look, I can guarantee you'll be giving our producer a heck of a time about that one for a long, long time to come. So congratulations, Jay. You've fallen afoul of David Haynes' antics yet again. But you, ladies and gentlemen, tonight is also a really interesting note in terms of iRacing's current prospects of the GT time model, but it's also got something a little bit extra in it. This is the first race that we are going to get for this series on the new GT3 Aero and Time model. What does that mean for you guys watching along at home? Well, it's a tyre that can now take a little bit of punishment. Previously, historically, the tyre, once you lead on it, once you slip it up just a little bit, that's it. The tyre will never come back into phase. One of the biggest changes now is it will take a little bit of a slide around, so the entire platform of the GT3 changes. It feels significantly more, based upon comments from real-world race car drivers, that it feels much, much closer to what they actually feel like in the real world. So always advancing is the simulation on offer to us. Additionally, the aero model has also been changed up. And this is the weekend also of the Majors 24-hour racing event. So this weekend is one of the first opportunities that everyone gets to test it in terms of iRacing stuff. So right now, Dave, probably this is one of those periods where it's very, very popular to be a GT3 driver. Not that it's ever not been, I would say, on iRacing.
I mean, for a long time, one of the most popular global categories of motorsport, but so popular in every sim. Everyone's got to have a couple of GT3 cars because it's always competitive racing. There's always a chance to race really, really closely. You just saw that it's a 2-hour race ahead of us, qualifying underway and not too far from wrapping up. And I feel like this is also a relatively high fuel consumption racetrack. A lot of long straights, particularly uphill and along the Kemmel Straight, so don't expect to see drastic amounts of fuel saving around here. Definitely expecting a couple of pit stops with this long pit lane.
Well, this is the points as they currently stand. 1,610 points leads the way for Dylan Shepherd after round number 5. Remember, tonight's round number 6, the second to final round for the first part of 2025. When we get through with our final round in round number 7, that'll be the first half of the year. Dean Mackay sits second. He is 93 points further back. Ethan Bass, Connor Nixon make it Orbit, Drop Bear, Motorsports P3 and P4, but a pretty big drop off from P3 all the way back to P4. From here on out, Stuart Shaw, Nick Wood, Trent Allen, Adam Wright, Samuel Sprout and Adam Jepson make up the top 10. A dead heat on points for 9th and 10th inside that top 10 as well. So Sprout and Jepson bang level on points as we head into Spa here tonight. And like you said, Dave, there's a lot of offer. The biggest thing probably about Spa is, well, if you're going to fuel save around here, and we will probably be talking about fuel saving, is a 7-kilometer racetrack means that you've got to save 7 kilometers worth of fuel before you get that extra lap.
Yeah, indeed. So what we've got is a big lap with a slow pit lane and a fuel tank restriction. So the games around that could be very interesting. What you don't want is an unnecessary pit stop around here. What you don't want is a drive-through penalty. And with an incident count of 50, you'd get a drive-through penalty. So you are going to need to be cautious a little bit with the track limits, not do anything that would give you a drive-through penalty, like speeding in pit lane or an unsafe pit exit or any of those other things, because that would be just here 3 times the penalty that it would be at some other circuits, like, to throw something out there, Alton Park with a pretty short pit lane. This has a way bigger, way more massive pit lane, so you don't want to be in there any more times than necessary.
Yeah, one of the big things, though, particularly for us right now, is that this is the first opportunity we're sort of getting to see what peak speed will look like and where the manufacturers are going to fall on that timing tower. Up until now, it's been rather dominated by the Acura, but this will be the first real time where we're going to see some meaningful change. There's a lot of love already coming out for the McLaren in early days of this new time model, new aero package as well, particularly for tracks with quite long straights. So expect to see the McLaren becoming a more popular option as we move forward. One of the big things that's also worth noting is the Ford Mustang is starting to crop back up and be one of the quicker cars as well. Porsche's gone a little bit backwards. It's there and thereabout. Well, actually, sorry, my apologies. The Porsche was sitting towards the back end in terms of pace of late. In actual fact, it's actually probably come a fair way back towards the front yet again. So expect to see quite a few Porsches getting around, but again, locked into manufacturers prior to the start of the season. Once you roll out on track for the first time, you are locked into the car for all 7 rounds and all 14 hours of our Endurance Racing Championship here for the Game of Gaia Direct Premier Endurance League Open Championship. Final moments of qualifying, 2 minutes left on the table, which means this is basically going to be it. You need to be starting your lap, and I believe due to the service setup restrictions, needing to be finished the lap in time, although I might just be wrong on that one. At the moment, pole position time 2:16.282 for
Open qualifying and no heats. So
yeah, there you go. Okay, right, I was wrong on that. Yep.
My understanding is it'd be checkered flag and then drivers complete their laps. So no, I'm wrong. Earlier, the start finish, the timing line is in the conventional place here on the endurance layout. It's around the other side on the historic configuration of pit lane, but I still have a feeling like the green flag drops. So this version has the green flag drop for the start line towards Eau Rouge, but still has the timing line for qualifying and the checkered flag for the race just out of the bus stop in the traditional place. So start and checkered flag together on the conventional pit straight for GP, start and finish line on the other side for historic, and start one side, finish the other, and both pit lanes together for this configuration, the endurance pit lane.
So, final laps will be commenced here in just a few moments. Trent Naylor on a flyer as he comes out of the bus stop chicane.
Dean Mackay's on a hot one, a real hot one. Through the middle sector, that Porsche's been absolutely flying. So he's the fastest car through the middle sector, not necessarily through the first sector up the hill and on the really, really long straight stuff. But when it comes to the medium speed corners, that's where the speed is being found at the moment for Dean.
Interesting to see what the tyres look like as well in terms of their life. Pull him, run to the bus stop, tip it in. Looks relatively clean in terms of getting the car out. We'll use all of the track limits on the way out the other side. To the line, needed to beat a 2:16.282. Did not get it by 0.04 of a second. My apologies, did improve by 1,000th of a second. So it was an improvement, but it wasn't by much. Checkered flag is now in the air, which means laps these drivers are on will be their final one. You see a couple drivers doing a final cycle through the pit lane to get the practice in. Matthew Duran will fire out of the final corner in the Acura to the line and will not improve on that lap time. One of the Mustangs in the field, Trent Stapleton. The low slung Ford Mustang will abandon the current lap that he's on. Brad Coates is on a lap by the look of things, as is Daniel Coleman just ahead of him. And then I think this might just sum up the drivers that will be able to finish their current lap. To the line, looking better at 2:17.8, misses it by 0.2 of a second. And then for Jamie Saxon, the last of the Acuras to get to the final couple corners and out of the line. Right, final corner. Looks for a little bit of drive. Didn't quite find the drive that he was looking for. Will not improve on that lap time as well. Leaf McClymon's the only Lamborghini in the field. I did actually hear some words that the Lamborghini is actually one of the quicker cars again at the moment, but instability and consistency issues plaguing the Italian manufacturer.
At the factory in Sant'Agata, Bologna, across the road from the Lamborghini factory, there is a bar called the Bull Bar. Do with that information as you will.
That is indeed an interesting one. Probably appropriately placed, whether or not it was put there. Dean Mackay coming up to the final couple corners. I believe his final lap's already in the books, but no, he's going to come to the line on this final one. Does have pole position at the moment. Improved the last time by 1,000th of a second. Is there going to be an improvement on this one? Timing and scoring says yes, there will be, and it's only another further 9,000ths of a second. So across 2 laps, he improved by 100th.
And he got it all right on time. He's the last driver to complete in qualifying and sends us over towards the warm-up and locks in the grid. And I think the question is not just, who's on the front row here, but also who's missing. So I do not see Shepard, the championship leader. This is a great opportunity for Dean Mackay, and he has a really dominant pole position.
So I'm just taking a quick opportunity to have a bit of a listen into race control and some of the drivers briefing at the moment. And effectively what I'm hearing is as usual, communications within the race server to stay reliant on just race control to drivers. So we'll be hearing that throughout the night. Tim Mackay, though, from Owen Coleman, going to be out front row. Adam Hughes and Sam Sproul are going to be lining up on row number 2. Jamie Saxon and Adam Jepson in the Blue Ball Racing Team Machine, row number 3. Russell Pepperell and Brad Coates going to make up row number 4. Rounding out the top 10 here, Dave, is going to be that of the number 9th place car of Matthew Gerard, and Mark Foster will line up alongside of him.
So then Leith McClymont, the Lamborghini's in 11th. Trent Naylor is in 12th. Rick Provenzale in 13th, just ahead of Trent Stapleton, who we saw in qualifying, go to 14th. Patrick Reardon in 15th, and Daniel Coleman in 16th. Then Bobby Camo and Logan Murphy. Last driver who set a qualifying time was PJ Whiteman. Darcy Inwood and Andrew Dutch. No qualifying time set. Hello, safety car. 4-litre twin turbocharged V8 Aston Martin Vantage GT4. We're on board with the pole lap right now from Dean Mackay, so the timing line starts there in qualifying on this configuration of Circuit Spa-Francorchamps. Turn 1, the source stays wide of getting over too much of those curbs. We've got 3D curbs going on for iRacing now, so they do behave slightly differently. It was one of those places where a lot of the drivers would climb all over the curb there at the apex of the source. Dean Mackay in the Porsche hasn't, before he then goes up plenty of curb at Eau Rouge and Radion.
And then it's the long run down the Kemmel Straight before you're getting yourself into the Cop Chicane. Oh, sorry, my apologies, not Cop Chicane, what am I saying? Lacombe Chicane. Here, bouncing over the curb yet again. And up and across the crest. Just look at the curb usage. He's able to place the car, bounce it up and over the curb nice and consistently. On the run up through Mel, maybe down to Rivage now at the bottom of the hill. And then turn 9, the turn with no name, although I believe it actually does have a name, it's just colloquially known as the turn with no name.
It's got three. It's got 3 names. It was on the track map. It's No Name Speakers, Jackie X. So the corner with the most names is the corner with no name. I have no mouth, but I must scream.
But the big thing that I'm looking at and seeing from the time on this car is it's nice and quick and balanced from him. There's no wobbling around. It wants to transition nicely. It wants to turn and point nice and cleanly. Don't see anything at the moment. This is down to Paul Frere where they'll start the climb all the way back up to Blanchimont. The big thing with the Porsche, historically, has been cold tyres through this next sector of the racetrack. It has been a difficult car to get to settle up and through the high-speed Blanchimont at turn 17, all of the track on the right-hand side. Tip it in, nice and balanced up and on the... Yeah, that Porsche just looks really well hooked up at the moment. Pulls it up nice and accurately. Now the final couple of corners. Drives it really nice and straight. But historically, Dave, is that Porsche has wanted to... The only way to get the thing to sort of want to rotate has been to add excessive amounts of oversteer and then hope that you can sort of control it and lean on it. But that looked like a very, very balanced race car. There was no pointy and catching. There was no point catch. You know, it looked like it wanted to settle itself on those rear tyres nicely.
It certainly went where he wanted through Lacombe and through Rivage, 2 places where you want to keep the car a little tight on the on the exit, just to set up into the next corner and the next change of direction. So he had the car in all the right places to then, you know, optimize into the next corner. It stayed where he needed it to. Track conditions changing slightly from qualifying into the warm-up, and might change again when we go into the race. It's dropped from sort of 42 Celsius on the track to 38, and now it might drop another 1 or 2 as they get ready to grid for the formation lap.
Right on. I believe this should be the quick formation lap as well, which will see us gridding on the run out of Pouon down to the chicane just prior to curve of Paul Frere. Interesting to note, a quick look at the weather radar for tonight. There's no rain in the offing, so whilst those clouds might be hanging in the area, it'll just be hopefully keeping the racetrack a touch more cool. Big opportunity for these guys tonight. New car, new tyre model, and this tends to be where the setup builders, the guys that really know the intricacies of how to get a race car dialed in the way that they want, tend to shine. There's no data to work from. That's probably the biggest thing, Dave, is that, you know, there's 1 week worth of setups that'll be placed out thus far, and GT3s are at Daytona and Misano, I believe, actually this week in terms of iRacing stuff. Misano might be relatively close in terms of trim, but whether or not, you know, how much wing you actually want to throw at the car will be quite interesting. So here we go, short preparation lap, and then we'll be on our way. Lap times for the fans watching along at home in the 2-minute and 16-second range back to 2-minute 20-second range. So in terms of lap distance tonight, we're looking somewhere around the 53 to 54 marker. That's manufacturer battle thus far won by Porsche. The Acura is still there and thereabouts, and the Mustang still in contention inside the top 4. So 3 manufacturers in the top 5, still reasonably good spread. And that's, I think, one of the things about this series days. We've actually seen plenty good manufacturer spread up until this point, but a new era will dawn. And tonight will be the first marker on that, which will be quite critical. Drivers already getting into preparing the tyres. It's good. I like seeing drivers preparing the tyres, because that says to me this actually feels like a good sim when the drivers actually have to put some work into the tyre.
Yeah, did you place your order for a Mustang GTD, or are you holding off for a Corvette ZR1X?
I'm a Mustang fan. The thing is, I'm absolutely love the body shape. I'm not a fan of the under tray that comes out the back, the big old diffuser. I think it is a very, very aggressive diffuser at the rear end of the Mustang, and I'm not overly happy about that. But the generic body shape, and then I'm not a fan of the engine note. It's slightly too aggressive, I don't like. But I actually like the looks of the car. You take the rear diffuser off, I'm a big fan of it. So there will be no Corvette order placed in the house.
So with this configuration of the pit lane, the pace car pulls off there, but it's past here and then around La Source before Barney will wave the green flag. How many Barneys do we have actually when the start-finish line isn't the finish line?
Well, there's one there in that little control tower.
Well, there's finish line Barney. Do we have a start line Barney?
Well, Gamer Gear Direct GT3 Open Championship on behalf of Premier Endurance League as well. Here we go, ladies and gents. I've been waiting for this one just to see what's going to happen with the new tyre, with the new aero model. What are the drivers going to let loose for us? 2 hours worth of endurance racing action. And now we wait. They'll hold them up. Field is in the hand of the leaders, and the green flag has dropped. And here we go. Porsche gets a good getaway on the right-hand side of the road. Dean Mackay will lead us on the run down to Rouge and Radion for the first time. Adam Shoes will grab one spot and slot in ahead of Owen Coleman. Sam Sproul a little bit checked up, was a little bit circumspect as they went in there. Saxon is going to try and clever all over him, as well as Adam Jepson. This is probably where the biggest fight is at the moment. In the meantime, though, back up at the pointy end, Owen Coleman's managed to grab a little bit of a toe, and he'll challenge around the outside as they run down to the Lacombe chicane for the first time tonight. Hughes will manage to hold him off. And they all manage to start to feed in. Sproul is under a little bit of threat in behind, though. Somebody runs a touch wide. I think it was Owen Coleman. Owen Coleman's in the fence! He crawled all over the exit curb. Ricky Provenzali's around, I believe, at the back end of the field. Coleman's in the middle of the racetrack, and they are going to scramble to get out of the way. They will not get out of the way, and there will be several cars that fire into the stricken 97. And that is the front end off the car. And I've just seen Jamie Saxon rotate on cold tyres around the corner with no name as well. So they're all struggling. The rear end off an Acura. And we might see ourselves the first safety car of the new regulations immediately sent in here. And again, I can tell you, Saxon with no rear wing on that Acura has already gone around.
Cold tyres and the curbs are a bad combination, which is the Mustang that's off there.
It wasn't Sam Sproul. It looks like the AITT Mustang. I think it might be Russell Pepperell by the look of that one. Sorry, it was the Kiwi Sim Racing entry. And I think we've got, what, 4 cars looking for a tyre? Safety car has absolutely been deployed, because in these instances, well, the thing is, we've got 4 separate cars all stricken in bad situations. And now we wait.
Oh! Massive for McClymont.
And now he's in the barrier as well, so this might make it 5. Wow, cold tyres, lap 1 at Spa. My, 5 separate cars, 3 or 4 of them spun on their own. And boy, we're going to get a safety car here, which is going to immediately send us into a little bit
We're
of...
not necessarily going to.
Well, you already have. Safety car has been deployed.
Okay, there it is.
So, Aston Martin GT4 safety car has been deployed. We're just waiting. We're just waiting for some instruction at the moment. And they'll be waiting up for the leader to grab that. There
So
wasn't...
this is where my confusion came from, is the safety car was on track, but no safety car was called by race control.
So we're waiting at the moment for a little bit of an update so that we have a little bit more information, but the field has been arrested at least safely. So here's the first part of this one, and it's Owen Coleman gets back on the track, the car bounces, fires into the fence and just tries to lock it down, but there's tyres off this car. Right in the wrong place. Just nothing the guys at the back could have done. That's Jamie Saxon going around, backing it into the fence. And we're waiting on further updates. So it looks as if the channel and the call for the safety car just went out in the wrong channel. So there was a call for a safety car. It was just deployed to the wrong channel, effectively, is what I'm seeing in the sim at the moment. So it looks like that's all now being caught up and we're under the safety car. Should be a relatively quick one. Well, the benefit of a longer lap, really, is the opportunity to grab the field up and get that one out of the way nice and quickly. I think Jamie Saxon... No, Jamie Saxon has towed. There's somebody else who actually managed to crab walk their way back around, and it was Owen Coleman actually managed to get his car rolling again and driven back to the pit lane.
I think McClymont drove back to pit lane as well. We saw that car was still going, but lost a lot of rear bodywork. So of everyone who's been through pit lane, I actually see McClymont as the highest position. He made the furthest around on lap 1 before putting a lot of damage in.
I can tell you Owen Coleman's got a right rear tyre not attached on his car at the moment, so the fact that he's got drive is incredible in that car. We have penalties coming our way from prior to the start of the race, which we assume would be a qualifying penalty potentially for... So it's drivers, there are penalties for drivers who continued weaving after the safety car had entered the pit lane. There were 4 of them. 606 is Sam Sproul. 23 is Daniel Coleman, who's one of the cars that has actually towed. 747 machine will be Bobby Camo, and the other one was Andrew Dutch in the 51 machine. The problem is a couple of those drivers would have been responding. They would have seen other cars ahead of them and probably continued on responding to them, or if they're doing it. But yeah, that's knowing the rule book and knowing the calls as they come in.
This is Naylor getting around. Owen Coleman and Jamie Saxon halfway around the lap, the opposite far side of the racetrack from where the safety car and the safety car train is.
In the meantime, the guys actually catching the safety car queue are going to go ahead and set the fastest laps of the race. I always love quirks of the system like these.
And because the first lap of the race can't count for the fastest lap of the race here on this layout, where it does at most other racetracks, because the start-finish line is the start line is a kilometre further around than where the checkered flag is, the first lap of the race was actually a 2:06 from the race leader, but difference between start and timing line, the first lap can't count.
So after we survey the damage and pick up exactly what's going on here, there are updates. I think Daniel Coleman and Patrick Reardon have both gone 2 laps down, potentially. No, Coleman and Reardon are both only 1 lap down. I believe Rick Provenzali might have managed to stay on the lead lap. Indeed he did. He might have just come back through the pit lane for an extra splash of fuel. And that's Owen Coleman slowly catching up to the back end of the field. They won't be tearing around either, those guys. They'll be trying to save fuel a little bit and creep up on the safety car. Although the other thing is, I mean, if you're going to be at the back end of the queue and you're already back there, I don't know how many times I've said that over the history of commentary work, Dave, but well, if you haven't got track position, you grab yourself some strategy position.
Another bit of lap 1.
Well, that's just where Owen Coleman was parked up at the bottom end of the hill. And unfortunately, not much you could really do there from his perspective. The difficulty was trying to spot him, wasn't it? Down the bottom of the hill. So for now, I think we're just waiting on a restart. I get the feeling we'll probably be going back green at the end of this one. But now we wait for confirmation. So Sam Sproul will have to come in and serve that penalty in the very... No, so my apologies. Those penalties haven't been applied in sim as yet.
Might wait until it goes green, which it will at the end of this lap, to apply them.
Righto, so for now, safety car will make its way back into pit lane. And the field will be under the control of Dean Mackay. Yet again, still managed to lead us away through lap number 1. Adam Hughes will be second, Sam Sproul third. After all the drama of lap number 1. Long slow crawl back because the restart zone won't be until after the La Source hairpin as well.
The longest serious stop that I think we've seen is Trent Naylor. So a few stopped and took their repair and just a tiny splash of fuel. But by the looks of things, Naylor took tyres. So I'm looking, your top 13 haven't stopped, 14th on back have. Thinking who might be in an interesting position strategy-wise, and I reckon Trent Naylor is the driver in the most interesting position, being 15th, but with a new set of tyres and also having brimmed the fuel tank.
Yeah. At the moment, 19th and 20th, which I believe is that of Daniel Coleman and Patrick Redding, still continuing to race around and try and catch the field as they've grabbed themselves a wave bar after being involved in lap 1 dramas. In the meantime, Dean Mackay has control of the field. I think he's going to hold him. I really do think he's going to try and outfox these guys. So here we go. Dean Mackay's going to launch. He waited, he boxed them up, backed them up, and then he launched late on because you do not want to launch immediately off the La Source hairpin. You don't want them to expect it here at Spa. The Kemmel Straight is rather long and rather a good opportunity to get some drafting work done. Up and over the Ryans from Eau Rouge to Radillon at speed for the second time tonight. And here comes Adam Hughes, who's just trying to outfox Dean Mackay at the moment. He will pull alongside and they will get into each other as they get into the Lacombe chicane. So they will both go tumbling back down through the field. And Adam Jepson out of nowhere has popped up and leads the race, bounces over the curb as they get up and out of Malmedy. And he manages to survive where Owen Coleman did not. Sproul now will try and lock himself back in. And he's struggling for a little bit of understeer at the front end of that car. Look at all of them. No point in turn in.
Gerard mowing out through the gravel as well, as quite a lot of them went wide through the left-hander. Now, just in front of Mackay, Pepperell's gone super wide through the double left-handers. And it looks like Mackay will get one spot back.
That'll be Matthew Gerard, who got a little bit too much of the curb out the outside of Puan. And the car looks dodgy at the moment. He's going to manage to at least arrest it and keep it away. No further drivers will get themselves involved. So for now, there's more drama on the opening lap of the restart, but everyone has managed to, by and large, get away with it without too much of a fuss.
So Adam Hughes had just such a great restart there. And then Mackay was middle of the road on the straight. They were swapping around. And then the two of them come together in the braking zone at Malmedy. Was so interesting to see. Adam Jepson is going to set a new fastest lap of the race, and we finally sort of get this thing underway. Sproul under a lot of pressure from Coates. Dean Mackay's closed in to be really not that far away from the race lead anymore.
The best thing I can really do right now is just try and tear away, just see if they can get some field spread. Mackay is attached to that rear bumper of Brad Coates as they get to Eau Rouge Radion, and Coates is going to have a huge wiggle. That will be a slowdown penalty. That was a corner cut for sure.
Absolutely it was for that McLaren in front of Brad Coates. So Dean Mackay should expect that car to maybe roll out before the braking zone. He's sort of anticipating it. He's kind of looking. Brad Coates still has it. Leith McClymont's picked one up. Coates might get himself into some trouble trying to give this up through any of the corners.
Well, for now, the penalty's still there, and he's going to have to try and serve it. And Mackay got a better drive off the top of the hill. He probably just needs to yield this one and get the penalty cleared. Mackay gets to the inside, three-quarters clear. Does clear him at the apex, finally. And slowdown penalty now cleared for Brad Coates, but that's lost him a fair bit of time to Sam Sproul and Jepson up ahead. Critical factor is, what can Dean Mackay do with a little bit of wiggle room at the moment and start chasing them back down? The other thing we'll have to do is, when we can, go back and grab an opportunity to have a look at that incident through the Lacombe chicane as well, because I'm not 100% certain if there was a turn in, if it was a squeeze, if it was a missed braking marker.
I mean, all looked like both of them went in way deep into that particular braking zone. So it's back to lap one, some stuff coming across there. Jepson with a 1.1 second lead over Sproul. Mackay closing in on him. Andrew Dutch been a massive winner from 20th on the grid with no qualifying time to be running 9th right now. Hopefully everyone's got a bit more tyre temperature and stability going through Blanchimont and over the curbs now than they did on lap one.
Well, tyre temperature starting to build. Bus stop at the moment. And an incident under investigation already. Adam Jepson again sets a new fastest up of the race. Dean Mackay does go a touch faster, but there was an off-track picked up on that lap. Here's the replay that we wanted to see. And he does bounce off the curb a little bit, which shoots him a touch wide, but Adam Hughes was definitely in deep as well. Gave him a fair bit of room to the apex. So
Coates kept it on track, but here comes Hughes in the Acura with just massive speed in the slipstream. Bit of synchronised pull out to the inside there, but Mackay won't get the move done. Adam Hughes absolutely went back up into 4th. Was as low as 7th, I think.
Yeah, so they're both being on the move. Absolutely on the move at the moment. Run from the crest of the hill down to turn 8, Rivage. This is one of the trickiest corners, I think, around the track, because it's so unassuming. It's just a little hairpin, but it's an off-camber hairpin. Update on the incident between Hughes and Mackay is that there will be no further action, which sort of says what you were sort of saying. They both contributed to it. They both got into each other. Racing deal. Move on with it. unique opportunity for Adam Jepson, though, if he can manage to maintain this pace with some fresh air. And we're just hearing the penalties coming in at the moment. So remember, all those penalties were discussed back prior to the start of the race, which was after the safety car pulled off. 5-second post-race penalties for all 4 cars that were involved in that one. This is all the battle at the moment between Bobby Comeau, Logan Murphy just ahead of him, and I believe that's Leith McClimate with a repaired Lamborghini just chilling in the background at the moment.
Yeah, and when McClimate took those repairs, they'd only done, half a formation lap and 1 racing lap, but McClimate did fill the fuel tank, so ought to be able to go maybe 1 lap longer than a lot of these cars in front as well.
So for now, 20 minutes just about elapsed out of the racing clock. That one's 6th of the race distance. The target for these guys is going to be 40 minutes in. If we can get there, Sam Sproul look backwards off the Mustang. That Porsche's got some pole in a straight line. So not only does the Dean Mackay car look quite nice around the bulk of the track, it actually looks fairly trimmed out as well.
Yeah, the slipstream can sometimes mask this a little bit, but the high-speed trap for Dean Mackay 262, for Sproul in the Mustang 260, for Hughes in the Acura 263, he's had a couple of good runs up the hill and in the slipstream.
And this is Andrew Dutch getting a move done as well as he continues his climb through the field after not setting that qualifying time. Down the inside, job done when they get to Lacombe.
Fortunately, 5 seconds hanging over him for later on, but moved a lot of positions after no qualifying. Mackay into 2nd. Hughes with the fastest lap of the race last lap, also still closing in on this race lead and not letting Dean Mackay get too far away. Jepson's lead looks in a little bit of jeopardy, and Logan Murphy has just run wide, lost a chunk of spots to Bobby Comeau, Leith McClimate and Owen Coleman, so that Ferrari drops back a few spots.
In the meantime, bit of a replay down here as...
Well, this is going to be him, so it's going to be, in too hot there, wrong angle into the left-hander of the switcher direction at Lafanya, and then a tiny bit of gravel, and 3 cars like that.
Yep. All the way on through. I really actually enjoy this livery on this 666 machine as well. I like what he's done with the accents on the front split up. It actually looks very, very nice. It was the first thing I noticed looking back at that car. That is
Another one.
Car. And yep, you're right. Leith McClimate picks off another one. And now Owen Coleman, after qualifying up at the front end of the field, has some work to do. Gets a little bit of a tap from Logan Murphy. And Owen Coleman feeling the wrath of that beautifully prepared split up.
Adam Hughes actually beat the fastest lap of the race last lap, but he had an off track somewhere, so it was lap time deleted, but he's closed in on the leading group and massively. Jepson keeps the race lead. I think the straight line performance of the Acuras isn't too bad. The Porsche goes along with it, but then is a little quicker through the mid-sector. Adam Hughes closes in on this top 4 group that are all within about a second. McClimate's backwards.
Oh no, for Leith McClimate. It continues to just come undone in that landing. And it was one of the things that we said at the top of the show, was that it can be a touch unstable, but I do have a feeling that he might have been helped in that one. So we're going to rise on the front group, which will be very, very important. And here comes the replay. So Owen Coleman trying to get down to his inside, and there's a touch there. The question is, for Leith, did he start to turn in maybe a fraction early? And, well, there's an Acura's nose to the inside.
There was quite a lot of car to the inside of him there, so serious closing speed.
I don't know. Just first thought looking at that one is that actually I don't think it's been actually passed on the stewards directly by Leaf, so I don't think he necessarily wants it to be looked at. I think he's sort of going, yeah, look, I probably turned in a touch early.
Yeah, I don't think he was owed a whole lot more space. When you look at it that way.
And it's already been looked at and deemed to be, it won't be touched. The penalty will be probably to the driver at fault, which is Leif McCormick facing backwards, unfortunately. In the meantime, battle up front is getting closer. The benefit, though...
Hughes nearly ran up the back of his teammate Sproul there, going into the source, which I nearly called turn 1, but what is turn 1 when the start line and the finish line aren't the same? The track map said that was turn 1 at the source.
Confirmation just came from the stewards in the session as well, but there will be no further action for that incident.
Mackay's had some good slipstream a couple of times and sort of elected to stay in second place, which I think he does again. Here's a look. Turn 1. You got to look for Hughes there. Yeah, just nearly chopping that diffuser off that you don't like from the Mustang.
Look, the diffuser is exceptionally functional to that car's pace, but boy does it just sticks out so aggressively. The fins on it are so tall. The diffuser's huge. It's actually bigger on the Acura, but it's a lot more subtle because it's closer to the rear end of the car. You know what it actually reminds me of is improved production cars, actually. There's a lot of Mustangs and things with a similar rear splitter. Rear diffuser even.
In sports sedans, you get some stuff like that sometimes. Or climbing all over the back of Dean Mackay. Sam Sproul, that Mustang, maybe coming into its own a little bit. Adam Hughes been pretty quick, but Mackay, I think, is playing a strategy game here. If you can cut out a pit stop, you absolutely should.
Oh boy.
With the gravel, you probably shouldn't.
Yep. A touch of the kitty litter. And it might be that somebody needs to grab the litter bags and goes for a dig out there to find what it was Dean Mackay might have been searching for, because he didn't find grip. Now he's going to be trying to find the nose to the inside of Adam Jepson on the run of the bus stop chicane. And you're right, I do think he's yielding just a fraction. But the reason he's showing the nose, for me, Dave, the reason he's actually showing the nose to Adam Jepson is not actually to show the nose to Adam Jepson. It's to say to Sam Sproul, hey, I am actually trying to challenge for this place ahead. And it's sort of a dissuader for Sproul to have a go at him, if you will.
So 65% fuel tank size. Can you get to fuel?
And in the meantime, Robbie Camo and Owen Coleman are going to go toe-to-toe, which is the reason that we've gone to the additional view on the bottom screen. Run down to Rouge Radion, and now Dean Mackay is showing the nose in earnest as they run down the Camel Straight. The problem is, will he try and park it up on the apex? And that he does. Jepson's going to try and soldier on around the outside. It will be the outside, though, when we get to Malmady, and now Sam Sproul says, well, I've got to press on as well. So wanted to defend it, did Adam Jepson. He's going to lose 2, could be 3. Here comes the dive down the inside from Adam Hughes as well, and goes from race lead to P4 by the time he gets out of the Lacombe chicane before he gets to Ravage. That was a hole that got opened up, and immediately 3 cars filled the void.
Look, Brad Coates isn't that too far behind after all of this as well. So the minute Dean Mackay got through, Sam Sproul thought, well, I've got to do the same, and then Adam Hughes followed him through as well. Jepson back to 4th, Dean Mackay to the lead of the race, because my strategy thinking here with a 2-hour race is, if you could cut this down to a 2-stop, you really ought to try. It's like a 65-second pit lane transit time here. There's no such thing as a splash and dash. It's a splash and trundle at the pit lane speed limit for a whole minute.
Yeah, and that's a huge problem. In fact, that says you've got pretty much, if you cut a pit stop out of this race, you can afford to give up what, 65 seconds plus fuel time, so somewhere in the realm of 1 minute and 10 seconds.
And this is why I thought I really liked the position that McClymont had ended up in after the safety car. And then McClymont's unfortunately gone and thrown away quite a bit of that time advantage. The next highest running car that may have just topped off their fuel tank, be able to run one lap longer, is Owen Coleman in 10th at the moment, or maybe Saxon in 12th. Those could be some drivers to watch. If your leaders, your top 4, your top 5 pit, and anyone manages to go one lap longer, then you've really got to be stroking your little chin beard and thinking what's going on.
So that is the one that we'll have to keep an eye on and just sort of let bubble away in the background. We'll start to get a better picture of exactly what this race looks like in about 11 minutes time. But remember, we've also had a safety car here. And the reason that that's relevant is that that's 3 laps that were done at a crawl. To give you the example, well, fastest lap times that we're doing at the moment is at what, 2:17.4? And safety car speed was done at 4 minutes and 5 minutes in terms of pace.
So realistically, it ate like 6 or 7 minutes out of the clock, making this an hour 53 minute kind of race.
Yeah. And I believe we might have seen the last of Matthew Gerard thus far tonight. At least there was an issue for Gerard. In fact, he's actually not out on the track at this point in time. So I think he might be done. And I did see a message that came through from race control that said back of grid for the next race for Gerard, which was for towing without permission. After that contact with the wall at the turn 12, turn 13 chicane. Dean Mackay very liberal with the track limits out there, isn't he?
He's pushing on this lap because he spent 1 or 2 laps behind Jepson, not really pushing on. But now I think he absolutely has gone for it, leaving Sproul just a tiny bit further back. Hughes not also able to go quite with the pace. There's sort of a slight, unbroken line of slipstream from Mackay back to Brad Coates in 5th now. So if the McLaren comes good in these conditions at this time of the stint, he's not too far away from the lead at all. It's within 3 seconds of the lead, and there's a new fastest lap of the race for Mackay, as he absolutely is pushing on.
Well, I did see a couple of purple sectors on that lap. The other thing that's worth noting from Dean Mackay is perhaps it wasn't fuel strategy we were looking at. Perhaps what he was doing was actually breathing on the tyre a little bit and bringing it in a touch more gently than the cars around it. So the only way that we'll know that for sure is looking at his long run pace. And again, we're not going to... The only way that we will know for sure is to talk to him. I can tell you, Dave, I haven't done enough laps already on the new GT3 time model. I've done one quick burst on it, and it wasn't a lot. It did feel interesting. The tyre wasn't there as quickly, but it wasn't as if the tyre was disastrously bad. And then the grip on the... as it came to was very similar to what we previously had, but it was, again, it's just the peaks that we were seeing in the previous model weren't there. One slide and the car felt like it disconnected. You don't see that anymore. One slide, you've definitely got to work to bring it back under control and be careful for a little while, but you can bring the car back to you.
So this will be Jamie Saxon and Bobby Camo. Saxon, I think, has just gotten by. Another one of those drivers that had a lap 1 whoopsie, but took the opportunity with the safety car to stay on the lead lap and top off their fuel. So I don't mind where Saxon is at. His last lap was a PB. Same for Owen Coleman in the same situation, just up the road in 10th. So to get a little bit of track position here and to have just a slight strategy advantage in your back pocket, not bad for Coleman and Saxon. It's a hour 20 remaining on the clock that I'm going to be looking for if we have pit stops before then or after then, because if you look to cut a 2-hour race into equal thirds, then that's when your first pit stop would be. If you make it that far, you stand a chance.
Well, remember that number that we were talking about in terms of time lost under safety car was about 7-8 minutes. So I'm actually looking at not 40 minutes. I'm looking at 46, 47. Realistically, 45 is probably the number that I'm looking at. If you can get to 45, I think you're probably right. I think you'll be able to get home from there. So, and that allows for a little bit of leeway from there on out.
Personal best lap for Hughes, personal best lap for Jepson. Brad Coates, not a personal best, and he drops just a tiny bit further away from this race lead.
In fact, that was a fair way away from his best lap thus far. So he will drop out of the tow now. Unfortunately for Brad Coates, must have been a mistake somewhere on the lap. Looks like it was 2 mistakes. It was not a great bus stop chicane, but it also looks like there was an error in sector 2, which would be from here down through to about Coulon. So pace starting to come out of his McLaren, unfortunately. For now. So the toughest part about all of this is, I can absolutely tell you, ladies and gentlemen, even though we're not seeing the action on track, is that there will be somebody that's working a fuel number somewhere in the field. And what that does is that will take the full 2 hours. It will be in the final 5 minutes that we'll see if that will work or not. Up until that point, we're just guessing at it.
It's the first stops that'll tell us if it's feasible, and then it's the very last stop that'll tell us sort of if they're on for it, because your ideal with this size of tank restriction would be to make this a 2-stop race, definitely not a 3, and even with a significant amount of safety car, no one is making this as a 1-stop. So you're looking at that going, I don't want it to be 3. If I can just save enough to extend each one of my stints to make this a 2-stop race, and that's the way I'd want to go. And we kind of had that for a lap or 2 post safety car restart, but now you're seeing everyone in your top 5, you know, personal best laps, not showing much sign of backing much off. So Owen Coleman gets to his next target, Trent Stapleton. Coleman, another one of those cars that I just got my eye on. Can they go a lap longer? And so what we need when we've got that strategy advantage is also not to be losing time on track and be clearing this pretty quickly, which it looks like Coleman's aiming for.
Well, gets to the inside now on the 94 machine of Stapleton. Pulls alongside, noses ahead for Owen Coleman. Yeah, the Mustang starts to come into picture. They want to sort it out before they get to Eau Rouge Radio. Oh boy. Oh, this is bravery. And Stapleton will show that he had the cojones to go around the outside and pick himself up and say, well, that just kind of ruins that. But that was bravery from him. And well, you got to recommend, you got to look back at that and go, hey, I respect that quite a lot.
There are obituary sections full of incredibly brave people.
Yeah, bravery and stupidity are, a few centimetres apart from each other?
In this case, I thought he had it, to be honest. I thought he'd actually done a really marvellous job, but it's just there. You need to keep the tyre on the red and yellow curb, and he's just gotten out into the black bitumen and not had tyre contact with that curb. It was close. It was really close.
It's another one picked off now for Owen Coleman, who has the strongest of fuel positions over the field. The real question is, can he do much with it? Will be the question that we're looking to answer. 0.6 of a second on his last lap, faster than the next car ahead of him, which was Mark Foster, by the way, which will actually be a teammate of his. So 4 seconds down the road for Coleman. If he gets to Foster, that one will effectively resolve itself relatively easy.
About to see if the leaders are still pushing on, because last lap was a new fastest lap, 2:16.6 for Dean Mackay. Sproul's managed to go with him. Hughes and Jepson haven't quite. It's 3rd and 4th for the Adams. And Dean Mackay, not quite. But Sproul, a PB.
Well, for
as
they wait,
tyres are holding on. As they burn fuel, they're going quicker and quicker.
Certainly. And Adam Jepson's actually starting to respond and come back to Adam Hughes a little bit, or at least he was a lot closer when they got off the bus stop chicane there. So maybe a touch of an error at La Source.
Toe down the Kemmel Straight at that distance, 7/10 back, was only giving Sproul 1 kilometre an hour extra. I think if you were within sort of 3/10, 4/10, you'd start to really feel it there, maybe get 2 to 3 kilometers an hour extra speed where you can really begin to close in on the driver in front. But at that distance, not enough for Sproul.
The biggest thing actually was something that a few of my buddies and I were discussing after that when I sort of got that opportunity to test the new, well, it wasn't just a new tyre model, but a new aero model as well. And one of the notes that came out of that one was, I feel like I'm experiencing
Jepsen
the draft a little
Big
bit earlier. And Adam Jepsen has had some form of drama. Seems to be the run down the hill to Rivage you would expect. Tips it in, holds the curb nicely. And then just a little over rotation on exit. Keeps it off the barriers though is the big thing.
Yeah, so it was oversteer on exit as he tried to keep that tight line out of Rivage to open up Jackie Ick's corner, something we spoke about Dean Mackay doing a really good job of in qualifying. His car was able to do that, but sort of keeping a tight steering lock in here and opening the throttle, touching a tiny bit of the curb, getting a hop and a slide as you ask for a couple of things at once from the car in that corner section.
The thing is, to have good balance at Rivage is really difficult because you need low speed grip. First of the cars to pit lane is Brad Coates, and this is just prior to that 40-minute marker. So that says to me that was with the safety car. He's not making them on fuel.
No, and he can twiddle his thumbs all the way to his pit box because there's 60 pit stalls here, and they get given by grid qualifying order, which means I think everyone is going to be in the classic pits around the hairpin here. So on board, can you do it at 60?
Well, hello.
Oh, hello.
That's Adam Jepsen again. So that was perfectly timed. But for Adam Jepsen, not the most opportunistic moment to be facing in the wrong direction.
Now, you were telling me you can slide the tyres and they'll come back to you, but that's definitely 2 spins in a lap.
Yeah.
I'm not sure those tyres are going to come back to him particularly nicely. Again, it's another tight traction zone, clipping a bit of the curb. It's like the left. It's like there's one nut loose on the left rear tyre, and it's just wobbling around on him as he's sort of loading it up in and then asking for power in the exit of right-handers.
Well, that's all low-speed right-handers too. It's not the it's traction out of the low-speed right-handers, which is tricky. So whether or not it might be a touch too stiff in the rear bars, it's just not laying down over on the rear tyre nicely.
So for Brad Coates, 27 seconds of service, but I think a minute 20 through the lane. Oh, the pit speed's gone up to 72 k's an hour. Used to be 60.
There we go. Pit lane speed limit increase. We'll change the pit lane delta.
It'll make that hairpin more difficult.
Oh, certainly will. We'll also make it a more skill-oriented part of driving the pit lane. And that was Sam Sproul not looking particularly comfortable on the way into pit lane there. Those look like a hot pair of Pirellis on the rear.
Everyone... Oh! That's a really hot pair coming out of the bus stop. Looks like everyone's headed for a 3-stop here based on those timings, though. For Sproul, for everyone pitting this lap.
Yeah. I feel like if you can make the end of the current lap, that they're just starting, you're in the window. But it'll take some work.
Because that is 16 laps completed with an estimated 35 more still to go. So if you go 17 laps completed, then another 17, then another 17, you could do it. But that first 17 includes the safety car. So you need to go another 5 minutes, really, if you're going to do it without another safety car in this race.
Yeah, teammates going side by side as they enter Lecombe.
What's the first rule, by the way?
Beat your teammate. The second rule is do it without touching him.
Climate's looking to the inside of Provenzale into Rivage. The Lamborghini gets ahead. When it's facing the right way, I thought the Lamborghini looked pretty good.
Yeah, I agree with that. Even on low fuel at the moment, he's actually looking quite well balanced. But whether or not it just has the issues with the cold tyres. Oh, he's getting a touch up from his teammate and a flash at the same time is Leith McClimate. So Rick Provenzale getting a fair bit of a scare. Dean Mackay, in the meantime, has built himself a reasonable margin of 4 seconds over Adam Hughes at the moment. Will come down to complete lap number 17 and will continue on to make it 18 in this first stint. Adam Hughes will not make it to the end of 18. But the benefit from here now is that that becomes a 38-minute stint and a 38-minute stint to get home. Pepperell will follow him through. So it was Dean Mackay actually saving a fair bit of fuel in that opening stanza.
Yeah, he's the only driver I can see standing a chance of doing it as everyone else comes to pit in. Except Bobby Camo. How's that hairpin work at 72 k's an hour? I think they've opened it up a little bit because there's not as much wall as there used to be, but how about a snap from Andrew Dutch?
Yeah. The two cars were just keeping half an eye on as well was Owen Coleman and Leith McClimate, because they both pit under the safety car to add extra fuel and damage repair at the same time. So both of them having to drive their way back through. Obviously, spins for Leith McClimate to sort of put a pin in his ability to make progress. But the fact that Dean Mackay's gone one lap longer than all of those guys who came in for extra fuel is speaks to the strength of that Porsche.
Did like that McLaren went on board through the hairpin. He actually dropped down about like 45 k's an hour and still nearly cooked the hairpin between the two halves of the pit lane. Drivers coming out of the lane after their stops. Russell Pepperell's also climbing up the hill. So 26 seconds for Hughes, 28 seconds for Sproul, 27 for Pepperell, 28 for Andrew Dutch.
Interesting to note. And have a look at the transition time for Leith McClimate as well. Minute 24.4 and 30 seconds stop time. So that gets the actual transition time down to about 56, 57 seconds. So still a slow time end to end based upon the length of it, but that increased the pit lane speed, because I do recall it being 60 kilometers an hour as well, Dave. So.
And that's why you speed in school zones, because that extra 10 k's an hour will save you 2 seconds of your life.
Speed is relative. The increase in speed is relative.
Either didn't stop the last time around, so Mackay and Bobby Camo in. I reckon Mackay running this one longer, he might get undercut, because if he fills the tank from here, it might be just 1 second longer than Hughes and Sproul, and Hughes perhaps towards a shortish fill there at just the 26 or so seconds. Fueling begins for Dean Mackay. The pole sitter will be all the way at the pit exit end of the classic pit lane, almost on the inside of Eau Rouge.
Remember we said we were looking for that 47, 48 minute marker, and well, he's made that. Jamie Saxon will join him. If he does get undercut, though, is that really the worst possible outcome? Because if he can range up on the back of both Adam Hughes and Sam Sprout, he will. You'll have some drafting buddies. But that is the margin. Now, remember, the margin back to Hughes was about 4 seconds prior to entering the pit lane for Adam Hughes.
Mackay was up on the jack, so I'm guessing maybe everyone is going the sort of new tyres route, at least at this first pit stop. And that doesn't lend its cold tyres doesn't lend itself to an undercut.
Does that say Rick Provenzale leader?
Stopped under the safety car, is now going to extend 1 lap longer because of when he made his first stop.
And indeed, he's actually in a really, really nice fuel position at the moment. Here's Rick Provenzale. There will be no fuel save required from him to the end of the race from here, I would say.
Yeah, and so I'm surprised that Jamie Sachs and a few of these other drivers that we called out didn't take the same, opportunity to really try to extend and cut out a green flag pit stop. And Leith McClymont just stopping now. So for McClymont, he was in this same strategy position that Provenzale was, and then unfortunately some spins and some other time lost, and he's not benefiting like Provenzale is.
And Leith McClymont's come back to the pit lane, and the engine doesn't look like it's switched on in that car at the moment. So did he fail to get fuel in the car? Oh, he's got damage. He's actually got a fair bit of left hand down on that car. So something's gone on.
Hit the wall on cold tyres, maybe?
I'm going to say that's what it was.
So look at this, how much Hughes and Sproul have closed Mackay on Mackay's outlap. So the outlap costs quite a bit of time. It did for Hughes and Sproul, and now, shoes on the other foot, they've got a tiny bit more tyre temperature than Mackay right now.
So I can tell you it was put on for Leith McClymont, and this is that moment. And again, just tips it in, and then the brakes just don't want to work. The car just doesn't want to pull up. Heavy contact with the barrier. He's already doing the fast repair, and for Leith McClymont, that might be all she wrote, unfortunately, for his drive into contention tonight.
Most ABS systems would work backwards, right? Because the wheel speed sensor doesn't actually know which direction the wheel's turning, just its speed.
Correct. It's just looking for difference in wheel speeds, I would say.
This is the kind of thing that's going to keep me up at night.
Well, they may want to track it though, because if you remember when the next gen cars came out, NASCAR next gen cars, of course everything circulates back to NASCAR, they had a lot of issues with engines blowing, and the engines that were blowing cars that had spun earlier in the day, and as they came around, they started rolling backwards whilst they were still in forward facing gear, so it was doing something to the engine initially. So there is reasons for wheel sensors to have direction on them.
I've googled ABS wheel speed sensor, and most of them have an encoder ring and a sensor, and it just reads how quickly the thing flicks by the sensor. It wouldn't actually know whether the wheel was going forward or backwards. It would have an absolute value of the wheel's rotational speed, and so if you were going 200 k's an hour backwards, the ABS would work.
Well, yeah, I mean, in theory, yeah, all I was looking for is the
brake bias would be all messed up, though.
For sure. Does a 7% brake bias become a 43% when you're going backwards?
I think so.
So, the questions that we have to ponder here at the moment. 50 minutes of racing now complete, approaching in. We've moved through the 1/3 race distance mark, and we're now starting to zero in on the end of that magic hour. With a little bit more of a feel what the race has for us. Jamie Saxon slightly ahead of Mark Foster. It was Foster who had that moment out of the bus stop chicane not too long ago.
Pace for these guys in the high 218s. Pace for the race leaders mid 217s. So that doesn't seem like dropping a whole lot of pace from anyone in the top three. It seems like they're pushing pretty comprehensively. Here's Coates, Pepperell and Dutch. Dutch a long way back, but the shot made it look like he was going to pass Pepperell. They're doing, well, Dutch with a high 217, a low 218 from the cars in front of him, so Dutch has caught them a fair bit. Hello. Pepperell trying to demand a Mustang nose down the inside, makes a tiny bit of contact with Brad Coates. The two of them will go side by side towards Jackie Ix.
Room still given, and racing still respectful as Pepperell will continue to try and go around the outside. This will be brave if you do this through pull on. Does he lift out, or does he try to keep it in there, and just Coates was nice and accurate at the apex? Brad Coates has been run down for position now, and Pepperell wants to say something about it, and Andrew Dutch will be deciding about how aggressive he wants to be, so he uses this as a fuel saving opportunity.
Yeah, so you've got Coates, who was one of the first drivers to stop 5 laps ago, and then Pepperell and Dutch that stopped 3 laps ago. So the tyres for Pepperell and Dutch might be just coming in behind Brad Coates, who ought to have got his good and ready and proper. Low 217s for the leaders as they cross the timing line. About to cross the timing line with this group. Pepperell nearly run up the back of Coates. Dutch getting way closer. Timing is where Barney is there, and there's a nice stripe across as well, and we go sort of mid 219, so costing ourselves a bit of time in this group.
Yeah. We'll either need to resolve it and settle their differences, or Owen Coleman is going to come at them at a rate of knots, and there's very little they're going to be able to do about it. That margin, 3.6 seconds. The Coleman, he has taken time out of them in fits and starts, but not consistently. Not huge chunks either. Coates again. Compared to 3 cars, but look of it in the straight line. Touch of gravel on the exit as well, for good measure. Beautiful overhead shot down there as well, and that is Owen Coleman, just arrived in the background.
Coates wide through the left hand. We've seen these two try to go side by side through Pouon earlier. Russell Pepperell doesn't want that this time. Nice gains from Coleman compared to the battling group in front. It's amazing how much time you lose when you go side by side through consecutive corners.
Yep. Yep, you lose an absolute bucket load of it. At the moment, Coleman's even taken more time out on this lap as well, so might be worthwhile having a bit of a look and a listen on board with Dutch, see if he is saving.
Well, I was looking at Jamie Saxon. Saxon pitted the same lap as Dean Mackay, who we noted for going quite a bit longer. So let's listen to Dutch.
The ride on board, yeah, there's definitely a lift off on the run to the bus stop. You can see he's there and thereabouts. He's not going to get by Pepperell and Coates, and it's just going to lead to him being, you know, difficult to resolve position, whereas we're just a little bit more patient.
Everyone in this race has chosen either the flag of Australia or New Zealand. I've seen someone racing with Antarctica. I've seen 3 people racing with South Georgia and South Sea. I don't even know what that one looks like, but I just read it. Left a screen. When they're about 8 pixels across, it is tough to tell New Zealand from Australia. It looks like the blue of the background is different.
Slightly different blue, as well as the difference in the stars and whatnot as well. Pepperell did get a little bit of a run. He's a touch closer this time, though. The flag of Antarctica is literally a light blue background with a white map of Antarctica.
The great thing about a map of Antarctica is whichever way you orientate it, it's facing north.
Well, I mean, untrue, because north is actually in the center. We're close to the center, it's not quite the center. So, south can actually, every direction into the center of that map will be north. But it will also be incorrect on the complete opposite side of it as well. Now you've done my head, Dave, and that's bothering me. That's really taking my head for... Yeah, you can tell them at the end of a 24-hour weekend.
So Dean Mackay's blasted out to a massive race lead pace, dropping back a little bit for Adam Hughes and Sam Sproul. I wonder if this is tactical from those guys. Maybe they're the ones we need to watch for a bit of fuel saving. Coates, Pepperell and Dutch are the ones we want to watch for a bit of a good battle. Owen Coleman closing them again on this lap. Jamie Saxon in 8th, a driver who could make this a 2-stroke race, as well as Rick Provenzale. Mark Foster had a slowdown last lap. Pepperell not enough an overlap to get down the inside, just enough to make Brad Coates sweat. And then Trent Stapleton 10th. Adam Jepson's ended up in 11th ahead of Robbie Camo after the series of spins that we had for Jepson. What can the Mustang do in the slipstream up Kemmel Straight?
Well, I'm just wondering whether Pepperell is actually running a little bit more wing, and I can clearly see Andrew Dutch is actually lifting off. And Russell Pepperell actually just lifted off there at the tail end of the braking zone as well. So I actually think they've swapped around, and Brad Coates is now going to get Russell Pepperell to his outside as he did not get a break up through the corner chicane. The problem is these guys are trying to play a little bit of strategy chicken and race on at the same time, and that is very difficult to do because all of a sudden they're minding their P's and Q's, and the next moment they're not.
Dutch by name, Dutch by nature. He's saving a lot, being very stingy with the throttle pedal along the Kemmel Straight. Partially because he looks at Coates and Pepperell battling and says, I don't want to be the third wheel to that. But also, we'll see if Dutch can extend this stint, put himself in a convincing strategy position. Of course, then the next sort of window of opportunity we're looking at as we've crossed halfway is with about 40 minutes to go. If you can make your final stop and take this middle stint as far as about 39, 38 minutes to go, maybe you could do that, because we've already deduced that the pit lane transit time, no service, just pit in to pit out on the speed limiter, is 55 seconds, which is a massive amount of time compared to most other racetracks.
Also worth noting as well, remember back at the start of the show I said I think we're going to get 53 to 54 laps. I'm now tracking for 49 to 50. So that time period we did lose effectively 4 laps worth of race time. Which, I mean, that tracks with what we were showing in terms of time loss as well on the safety car. So that's bang on. Plunging away through a little source hairpin for this long dive down the hill. Well, I can't. Absolutely I can't. The only thing that's missing is might only be 7 kilometers in length these days. I say only 7 kilometers. 25 kilometers worth of racetrack back in the day. I think about 27.
Preserved.
I believe this place was actually more dangerous when it was in that style of racetrack. You know, I am actually a fan of some of the work that you do, by the way, Dave. My biggest thing was I saw a little while ago you do some digging and looking for old racetrack maps of the Mont. Way back into what, the 17 and 1800s? Was that your work?
No, that was not me. That was some others. But it was cool. I take note of that kind of stuff. I do love looking at old maps, old aerial survey stuff. Reese and I dug into the history of Circuit Manicourt, which was a World War I field hospital for the US Army in 1917, 1918.
Right, that makes a lot more sense that it got turned into a racetrack then, because you mentioned the US and Rick Provenzale is turning his Porsche into the Spa local grass mowing service. The driver is actually in a supreme amount of strategy position at the moment. That spin will absolutely hamper him. One. There's still issues in the hearing. It's again the Exeter Ravage.
He gets the inside curb. Everyone who's done it's got the inside curb. And it's just...
Oh boy, here we go. Here we go. Russell Pepperell finally gets along the inside as they head to the La Source hairpin. Coates will be forced to go the long way around. What does Dutch do in this situation? Nose ahead now for Russell Pepperell, but Brad Coates will remain firmly alongside. And this Mustang does not have the out-and-out race speed. This side drafting is on the back at this point. Room is given to Rouge and Radion. Coates will keep it on the track. No slowdown penalty for him. Did not exceed track limits. And Andrew Dutch gets a face full at the rear of the Mustang, and well, elects to go back to fuel saving. You can tell he's paying the fuel bill tonight.
That was mega from Brad Coates, from nearly done for rights on the exit of the Source. Got a little bit of that side draft down towards Eau Rouge, committed massively on the outside, kept it within bounds. Actually, seriously exciting racing between these two, because you would have thought he was done, but right about here he goes, actually maybe I can make this work, and make it work. Brad Coates does.
But you know what it does is it sacrifices over a second worth of time, and now brings Owen Coleman just about back in spinning distance. This is what Dutch was looking at, and then he just sat there and just went, all right, I'll save the fuel. Effectively for Andrew Dutch he's actually not racing these guys, and that's why you're not seeing him poke the head out, is because realistically he's gained 14 spots to where he is now, and if he saves the fuel, well, he's actually not worried about these guys. It's the next group going on track, and at the moment they're only 20 seconds down the road, so if they don't make it on fuel, they're actually going to end up about 30 seconds in his rear view mirror. So his only concern is the fuel mileage at all. He really doesn't care about anything else.
Yeah, the saving's been massively noticeable on the Kemmel Straight, a little bit here, but it's all of the other little places where you sort of roll 50 meters into the braking zone that really adds up. If you're trying to just save big in one braking zone but not applying the same rigor the rest of the way around the lap, it won't work out. It's got to be every corner you try to maximize your rolling speed through the apex of the corner. You try to maximize your saving on the way into the braking zone. So it's got to be cumulative everywhere rather than one gigantic 200-meter lift and coast. That's not the efficient way to try to extend your stint one more lap.
Status quo achieved yet again. And see, Pepperell was saving at the back end, in the front half of this stint. So the back end of the stint, is he trying to press on a little bit? Pit stops laps within this group was that Brad Coates was the earliest of this group to go, and he dived at the end of lap 15. 17 laps on the first tank of fuel for both Russell Pepperell and Andrew Dutch, and Dutch has ranged in again, so I think yet again he's just chilling out. Patrick Redding's starting to close in on Logan Murphy for 15th spot as well, so potentially change further on back. Margin out for the race lead to just about 5 seconds at the moment. It has been a fair while since we checked in with Dean Mackay.
Yeah, last lap 2:17.4. Adam Hughes 2:17.8. Sproul 2:18.1. Have they done the swap here?
I believe after the pit stop, Hughes did actually pop out ahead of Sam Sproul. So it's been this way for the bulk of this stint. And Sam Sproul actually went only to the end of lap 16 on his fuel, so Hughes had 1 lap extra fuel in that first stop. Whether or not that might be tyre related, maybe he didn't take tyres. Pit stop for Hughes. And this battle continues, albeit it went from a 3-car battle pack to now there is a 4th car that's latched on. And the issue for Owen Coleman is that he's not going to be in a position where he's as fuel happy as Russell Pepperell and Andrew Dutch. Brad Coates will effectively be an out-and-out fight between Coleman and Coates. The question mark remains as to whether Pepperell and Dutch can actually make the end of the race. And we believe Dutch is in a better position than Russell Pepperell at the moment.
Bit of a yo-yo to the pace. Because you've seen Adam Hughes get as low as a 2:17.2 and now he's out to 2:18.2. Dean Mackay's been as quick as a 2:16.6, now he's at 2:17.4. And this group as well, they've all just with Brad Coates leading gotten relatively close to their PB lap times. So I would have said that in the first stint we did 15 green flag laps for most, because there were 2 safety car laps. We're now at 12 green flag laps into the run for Brad Coates. So for him, with 50 minutes to go, that next stop could come sooner than you might think. For everyone else, they'd be hoping to go another 10 or 12 minutes. If they can make this 2 instead of 3 stops, which would of course be my goal.
I think Brad Coates' shoes is, I'd prefer to underfill the car a little bit and go for 2 short bursts with a little break in between, which would probably help the tyre a little bit and be able to push on a lot faster and not carrying that fuel weight. So whether or not he elects to do that as well, and that looks like Patrick Reardon has managed to get the job done on Logan Murphy. As we check back in with them, and as with all good moves at Spa, it starts with a good run up through Eau Rouge Radion, and a bit of drafting support down the Campbell Straight.
Yeah, the inside just opens up a little bit for him. And he slices through.
Ups it up nicely on the apex as well. Yeah.
Track cooling off as we go, by the way. When the qualifying was like 42, then the warm-up was 38 degrees, and the race start was 36. Now we're at 33, which I measure as 32.8. So it's the white line.
So you see there's actually been a rebuild as well, so there's a cloud, probably a patch of cloud that came through at one point there. Well, the air temp has been fairly static, must be said. And this battle, again, getting closer. He's actually hanging off the back, so I wonder whether or not he's caught these guys and then gone, righto, I need to save the fuel now.
Well, deceptively, the pace of this group's actually picked up a little bit. Brad Coates had that move around the outside of Radion, and then he's led the way since then and actually picked it up a little bit. Pepperell's still, within some car lengths of him, but Pepperell's doing his utmost and putting in personal bests right now. So they've all come alive, as I think Scaife likes to say. If you want to sound like Mark Scaife, call plural things by their singular name. So instead of a set of tyres, be like a set of tyre, or there are other examples. He does that all the time.
Pair a front caliper.
That's a great set of number he's done there. Or refer to things that aren't yours as ours, like our championship.
There's a lot of people who just don't like him as well. He's one of those polarizing figures, isn't he, in Australian motorsport? When you talk to people.
He's great when he's only wearing one hat. Individually, the hats that he does well with. When he tries to wear too many hats at once, it doesn't work.
That does come across. Adam Jepson and Trent Stapleton will now going to work on each other as well. And that's going to bring Bobby Camo is the BMW in the background, and there's Jepson getting to the inside. That was an unhappy rear of Trent Stapleton's Mustang trying to pull that car up the braking zone.
Crazy to think at one point Adam Jepson was leading this race. But there we go, he's trying to work his way back, and he works his way back into the top 10. Same group, closer than ever. He did drop off 1 or 2 tenths last lap. From Brad Coates. Now, he did 15 laps first stint. The end of this lap will be 15 again for Coates in the McLaren. Doesn't necessarily tell you what he's going to do, but it tells you whether what he does do will be continuing tradition or breaking it.
Moment. This is sort of the battle that we're keeping an eye on, because it's been intriguing to watch. I do wonder. I mean, Pepperell's showed some impetus to get on with this, but I wonder how much of that was feigned. He's just harassing a little bit, but he is really invested in the fuel strategy.
Excited for how many Mustang GT3s there's going to be in Australia next year.
Yeah, absolutely.
Staying on track. Brad Coates, Russell Pepperell in this group.
Well, I reckon Brad Coates can only get through the end of this lap.
Reckon you'd be pretty close to bang on, because the longest anyone did was 18 laps, including 2 of them being safety car. So I think the longest you could do without that safety car would be 16 to 17. And this is approaching the end of 16 for Brad Coates. He's got Russell Pepperell breathing all over him up the hill.
Literally breathing on him. There is very little between these two guys. And you just get the feel. No, Pepperell is going to show the nose. But if your fuel's... I mean... The point is, obviously, you want to play the mind game with him, and as he nearly gets through the back of him as they get through the Lacombe chicane, he's definitely played the mind game with Brad Coates. But if you want to use a car, and Brad Coates actually just came across the incident and just said he'll be pitting at the end of this lap. But the thing is, if you want to use a car for fuel saving, let them go. Let them run their lap time. There is no point in harassing them like that and then going back into fuel saving mode. Because all it's done is prompted a mistake out of Brad Coates, and the whole group got propped up.
Yeah, so the thing is that you think, are these guys fighting Jamie Saxon, and do they need to be worried about Adam Jepson and others? Because I don't think Brad Coates and Russell Pepperell and Andrew Dutch are particularly believing that they're going to catch Dean Mackay, Adam Hughes or Sam Sproul. So you've sort of got the top 3, then that group, and then this group. Jepson and Saxon side by side.
They are. And Jepson will be forced to slot back in. Pit stop starting to come through, and Adam Hughes will actually be the first of these 2 cars to drive the lane this time by. But remember, the shoe was on the other foot in the last stint. Was that Sam Sproul went 16 laps in that first run. Hughes has gone 13 laps on this stint. And I can tell you that Brad Coates has just fed off and into the lane as well.
Yeah, so 16 in that stint for Brad Coates. 19 laps to go. Contact.
Side by side.
What's Provenzale done to give himself a meatball? A meatball flag, I should specify.
This is where Leaf McClimate had issues earlier on. And this is an second lap out of the pits for Rick Provenzale. That's gone in hard on the back end, and that is a smoking engine at the rear of the car because, well, the Porsche's engine is placed in the rear.
So now it's a question of who goes, how long. A bit of cloud cover comes over the racetrack. In an all-green flag race, 40 minutes would be the 2/3 completed, 1/3 remaining point of the race. The early safety car sort of puts the green flag racing 2/3 point of the race about a minute or two deeper. Dean Mackay is at the end of his 14th lap, having done 18 the first time around. Behind him in second place, Sam Sproul is coming towards the end of 16 laps, having done 16 laps in the first stint. So I would be looking for Mackay to do 2 more here if he's going to win this on a 2-stop.
Yeah, I've got to agree with that. That will put him right in a comfortable window. Doesn't take the swing off there, so he's at least got 1 more to come. Sam Sproul, well, he went short on that first run, so I get the feeling, 16 laps, which is bang on for him. So he's done 16 and 16, albeit the first time through was...
But with 18 to go.
Yeah.
So what are you going to do? Splash with a minute transit time with 2 laps to go? I'm looking for anyone else in the field in a competitive position that could do this, and it's sort of Jamie Saxon, Bobby Camo maybe. Saxon's ended up just in front of Jepson. Jepson's got a tiny bit more speed. In fact, did Saxon spin last lap?
I don't necessarily think so, but there was
last lap was 226, so there's damage on the front.
There is indeed damage for Jamie Saxon. And Adam Jepson has been rapping out a message on his rear bumper in the last couple of corners at least. Replay to come as well of what's gone on for Jamie Saxon.
Sproul pits from second, Trent Stapleton pits from ninth, and Jamie Saxon is heading down into Rivage. Bet you he's going to get the inside curb.
Drifts a touch wide at the off-camber apex.
Oh no curb. Yeah.
Well, to be fair, Adam Jepson's Acura did exactly the same thing and also didn't touch the inside curb. And now they're going to go side by side as well. Jepson will get the nose ahead when they get to the Lacombe chicane, and he does indeed grab the spot.
I don't know if Saxon completely understands the situation he's in, where if he can save fuel, he can be one of only 2 or 3 drivers that make a 2-stop out of this. 39 minutes to go.
Again, these guys, this will be critical. So we said, potentially 17 laps to go here at the conclusion of this one. So Dean Mackay's going to go on through. So now you would say he's comfortable looking in terms of the number of laps that he can tick off here. Owen Coleman caught this group and then stagnated. And the reason he stagnated was because he caught up to these guys, then flipped on over to fuel saving. Andrew Dutch has been saving like a madman for a number of laps right here. This could be the moment. If Andrew Dutch can go further, they're both going to go again. Right, I'm going to lay some numbers down for you, and we'll see how these predictions fare out. Adam Hughes and Sam Sproul can't make it. They will need to make one more stop. I reckon we are looking at the battle for second place.
I was about to say that. I was like, what's going on with that stop timing from Hughes and Sproul, who look so comfortable for second and third, but they are now looking... Now, there's 2 possibilities. Either they're committed now to a 3-stop, or the fuel window is wider than we thought and they pitted at the start of it. But I doubt that.
I don't think so. The numbers don't match up. But the other thing that's worthwhile pointing out is that Sam Sproul's 5 seconds out and ahead of Adam Hughes. 5 seconds. So he's short pit this time.
Jepson pitted, and surprise, surprise, Jamie Saxon carried on. So I still think Saxon's in a good position. I really liked that graphic, by the way, because when you look at where their stop was around lap 16, 17, 18 in this race, everyone who's got a lap 18 stop are drivers I'm looking at to be able to make some really good pit lane savings. End of this lap will be 16 laps to go for your leader on the predicted. So everyone who stops now, I think, gets to the end on just 2 stops. This is the circuit where you want to avoid a splash and dash. Sometimes it's great strategy to, save a tiny bit, avoid a splash and dash. Great, it might save you 20 seconds. Here, we've established that avoiding the splash and dash saves you a minute.
And we're just going to have to keep an eye on it and just wait yet again for this to sort of resolve itself out.
Mackay pits from the lead, and when he works his way through the lane to his pit stall and out, he'll rejoin the race with about 35 minutes to go. Everyone's stopping now, which I think is going to include this group. Looking great. This looks like second, third, and fourth to me. Unless a miracle of fuel saving happens between now and the checkered flag from Samuel Sproul and Adam Hughes, this looks like second, third, and fourth to David Haynes.
I'm going to make a prediction here, is that Andrew Dutch will have the shortest pit stop of this group. I reckon it's going to be about, I want to say 1.5 seconds. Again, just because he's been mega saving compared to Pepperell.
Saxon going for another one, okay.
Wow, he's in a great spot.
Yeah, except for that damage on the nose, strategy-wise, great from Saxon. Really good use of that early safety car as well to fill the tank then. It's given him, then put him 1 lap further along in the middle stint, puts him 1 lap further down the road here. He's going to have no troubles at all. Love this from Jamie Saxon, strategy-wise.
Even better, he gets to lead the race, which he will look up and go, yeah, that's a good feeling. I'm happy with that. So, and the other benefit for him as well, he's done all the hard work. So this is press on now. Once he gets to the pit lane, let's not jinx the man and say that he's missed the pit lane entry here, but that's always a possibility.
Saxon's stop time indicates that he's taken basically a full tank of fuel to get home from here. So everyone who pitted 2 laps, 3 laps ago, either Mackay is massively overfueled, or the others aren't doing it. Has the race off pit lane gone? It looks like it's been won by Coleman.
Well, that is surprising because Owen Coleman came into that one in 3rd spot in this group. But I would have thought, because he ran so many laps out and on his own, for me.
Cold Tyre Central, get a load of this. It's like they're racing on a wet track.
Russell Pepperell's he's on warm tyres at the moment because he's just gone right up and around the outside of Owen Coleman. But how good is the rubber on the Kiwi Sim Racing Mustang? Coleman's definitely taken fresh tyres and he lights them up as we get out of Rivage. That's going to allow Andrew Dutch to get through the inside. Is this a mistake? Yes, it is. And around comes the Acura.
Gee, I think he was just pushing too hard in that circumstance. Now he's trying to loop it around. He's lost positions to Brad Coates. Jamie Saxon leading this race, heading towards his final stop. Predictor is 15 laps to go from here. Saxon comes in for his final stop. I don't think he's got a fast repair left, having used one on the first lap. So maybe that nose doesn't get fixed.
And we'll just have to handle that, but he's been the furthest. And therefore, that allows him touch a leeway. Race P2 becomes race leader as Jamie Saxon is in the right-hand side of that shot. On his slow trundle through the pit lane. They nearly go through LaSource side by side on opposite sides of the concrete barrier. But Dean Mackay backing into the race lead.
there was a track where the iRacing spotter used to tell you there was a car inside when you were alongside someone in the pit lane. Trying to remember where that was. Sproul through in a second, Hughes through in a third. Very quick last lap from Sproul, but we still think is headed for an extra pit stop. Bobby Camo's on his out lap. Stapleton behind pitted 2 laps ago. So Stapleton's questionable on the fuel, but we like where Camo is at.
Oh, Sam Sproul's just gone around.
From second.
Yep. And that's teammate Adam Hughes has just gone through, and that'll be for position too. So that was just odd. He's pressed on a touch too far, and that's Ravage. So the good news is we can say that Ravage has not claimed another victim.
He's been Melmadied. Oh, is that just, perhaps a little too much, even kicking up the gravel on the inside.
So unfortunately,
no, I don't think Camo knows this, but he could probably let Stapleton go and still finish ahead of him in this race. Stapleton's down the inside of Ravage on the tight line, but seems to have just worked it and worked his way through. Mark Foster closes in on the both of them. Foster pitted 4 laps ago, so he's not making it to the end without another stop. I want to be like on the radio to him, like, you don't need to worry about these guys. I don't think you've done a really good strategy job with extending the first stint. You've got them covered. They probably both need to stop again, and you hopefully don't.
race control just took the opportunity to have a look at the incident whereby Owen Coleman got a little bit of a touch up on the cold tyres. Wasn't called in, but as usual, stewards jumping on things regardless. Something to have a look at, something to investigate. In the meantime, Foster will close in on Bobby Camo. These three staying rather well stuck together. And I think we've just lost another driver, unfortunately, from the race tonight. And Logan Murphy has returned to the pit lane, and I think his day is done.
So what's happened in this group? Russell Pepperell 4th. Andrew Dutch getting going in 5th. Bobby Camo, in such a precarious situation, closing in on Trent Stapleton, but with Mark Foster just behind. You saw Foster gain heaps of time through Blanchimont at the tail end of the previous lap. So the super high speed corners, Foster was gaining some.
Just sort of halfway thinking about that battle pack as well. Old Commons dropped about 10 seconds off the rear of Andrew Dutch now, and I think he's just having issues with those tyres and bringing them in nice and consistently. I believe there was a slight touch to that car, and it's no longer behaving as nicely as it once was. But he will have fresh tyres at least. Andrew Dutch and Russell Pepperell are going to be playing the game of who has enough fuel and who doesn't, because I still think they need to save. I'm not saying a lot, I'm saying a hair of fuel. And it's, if you're in Russell Pepperell's shoes, do you try and keep the margin out over a second for as long as you physically can and then save on the last lap or the last 2 laps? Or do you clear that margin early, potentially bring Andrew Dutch back into your draft and make his job a touch easier?
Well, is Pepperell already saving becomes the question with a last lap of a 2:19 flat. So if I've got to save like that, Andrew Dutch is catching me either way. And so I try to save behind Dutch rather than save and stay ahead of Dutch. Downhill with this group, Stapleton gets a bit further ahead of Bobby Camo, who kicked up the gravel coming out of La Source. Mark Foster's just a car length back heading up the hill. Said the McLaren was good in the high-speed stuff, and it gains even more heading up Radion, which gives him a really good running leap and jump and start at this.
And pulls out quite late as well. McLaren alongside of the BMW.
Camo lets him go. Big time
Yeah.
Camo lets him go. That's smart. That's real smart.
So maybe he has been listening, Dave.
Well, I'll send him an invoice then.
David Haynes, Race Engineering Services. Well, crew chiefing engineering. Yeah. What'd you call yourself? You just call yourself a crew chief or an engineer on that one?
I'm a strategist.
Strategist. Does that come with a psychology degree? I feel like you need a sports psychology degree sometimes to be.
Well, that's the
be
thing.
at race
That's why I'm strategist, not race engineer. Because the race engineer, you know, coaches you and focuses you and keeps you in the zone. I just crunch the numbers and say, no, this is the amount of fuel you need to save to cut out one stop, and that'll cut out 55 seconds of lane trundling and get you on the podium. Massive lift and coast from Russell Pepperell, who's the Mustang in front of us as we ride on board with Andrew Dutch. Dutch is headed for a podium here.
Well, they're both headed for the podium. It's just in which order. And I wonder whether, well, remember Dutch fell back quite early in this stint. So whether or not that was tyres, and now they're playing a little bit of chicken. Do you think there's a rare situation that you sometimes see in these fuel races where nobody wants to lead? We might get side by side out the back end of the Camel Straight and both of them are completely off the gas, going, no, you first, please you first. I want to lead. We've got a resolution to that problem here in just a few moments, and Andrew Dutch says, no, I do want to lead. The time for a little bit of track position is now, and he will step to the right-hand side, and Pepperell does not make that one all that hard at all. So Pepperell is thinking, I've got to save some fuel here. The front aero profile on both of those cars as well.
Could be for second place, that.
Yeah, I agree on that. I do agree.
Just shocks me how Adam Hughes and Sam Sproul managed to match Dean Mackay's pace for quite a while and then dropped half a second per lap on him, and didn't manage to save fuel and extend their stints while that was happening. It just really surprised me that they didn't seem to have pace and then stopped early and suddenly are in this weird no man's land of maybe heading towards a 3-stop when 5, 6, 7 other cars are headed for just the 2-stop, including your outright race leader, Dean Mackay, who's done a really good job of it.
Yeah.
Logan Murphy tried to rejoin and then has dropped again, so it's not necessarily waving the white flag from him. It might be technical issues that's taken Logan Murphy out of this race.
Don't forget as well, Andrew Dutch has got a 5-second post-race penalty to account for as well. So even though he's ahead of Russell Pepperell at this point in time, unless he's got 10 laps effectively to pull about 4.25 seconds.
Foster fresh from his overtake on Bobby Camo, right in on Trent Stapleton. Those places like Blanchimont and Radion, Mark Foster looks really strong. So the really sort of, gee, is it flat full throttle or do you have to breathe the throttle a little bit but not a braking zone type of corner? he seems to gain a couple of car lengths and look really planted and quick.
Yeah, turning it well late on in this race, I will agree.
So I'm penciling him in to gain another couple of car lengths up Radion here. Yeah, looks good. Good speed again onto the Kemmel Straight.
Still making time. That Mustang is just quick in a straight line. Necessarily carrying great speed through the corners.
Foster is stronger. It's sort of more slow and medium speed corners here with Rivage and No Name and through Malmedy, but then it gets high speed again with Pouon and then towards Blanchimont once more.
Those marbles are actually starting to pick up on the outside too. Did you see when Foster tried to turn it into Rivage then? He was a touch wide and the car just did not want to turn in. He did lose a car length and a half.
Slide as he touched the curb on the exit for Foster.
So they'll turn back to the fast and flowing chicane at 12 and 13. Oh, sorry, my apologies. That's curve call Frere right there. And then the run back up the hill. Time's starting to run out. 20 minutes on the clock. Final sixth of the race popping up. In less time than it takes you to run down to the shop and pick up a pizza, we'll have a race winner to decide. Foster starting to look aggressive on the brakes as well. And that looked like a touch of mistake. And Bobby Camo chilling in the background for him. I didn't wonder whether or not he was trying to show something to Foster. Foster not good through the chicane on the current lap either. Have a look at the margin between Adam Hughes and Dean Mackay as well. That's blown out. And Russell Pepperell and Andrew Dutch just changed positions again.
There's every chance that Adam Hughes is mega fuel saving, but I think his stop was too early and it's not going to happen. So he's perhaps even dropping back towards Sproul. This is going to be a mistake for Andrew Dutch. Yes, it is.
But crucially, keeps it on the circuit. This will be an opportunity for him to really work on that new tire model. Show to us that, you know, there was a slide there. He's okay. Really looks like he's struggling for a touch of front bite, front turn from Dutch, and that is Foster. After challenging hard, being in the right position, I wonder whether or not the curb at Rivage has had another bite.
Gone to overdrive it at points, didn't he? So he had a chance earlier around the previous lap and then got it too hot through the bus stop, and that is perhaps a bit too much curve through Rivage. Gets a bit of a slide on and then touches the outside curb. And then touches the wall. Touch underselling it a little bit.
Third chunk of the ball, that one. Brad Coates is starting to range in on these guys too. Now, admittedly, Coates will not be fighting them. So right now, Dutchy will continue to close in. Okay, it becomes a game of who's going to save the fuel. Brad Coates did take 1.3 seconds out of these boys in the last lap. Coleman was 2 seconds out of them, so Coleman is coming. And they get close as they run down the Kemmel Straight once again, and this time Dutch is going to pull out yet again to the inside. And Pepperell again chooses not to fight, so I'm really uncertain about the fuel situation for both of these guys. the fact that the thing is, Pepperell is absolutely just bailing out and backing it up a fair way. We'll have to go for a bit of a ride on board with Adam Hughes to see whether or not he is mega saving it. It will be a huge ask. And I'll tell you what, there was a lot of lifting on the way to cover Paul Frere, so Dave, you might have spotted it right. And in actual fact, he's losing 1.5 seconds a lap to Dean Mackay, 1.1 seconds to his teammate, not the most recent lap, but the lap before, 0.8 of the last lap. He is absolutely going in the fuel savers, Adam Hughes. Look at the lift! That's a massive lift!
Yeah, so we have the middle stint of the race that was now a good comparison point for what is the fuel range for these cars, and we can get a pretty good prediction of how many laps are going to be left in 16 minutes and 20 seconds. The race leader Dean Mackay did 18 and then 16 laps, and now is 8 laps completed on his stint with a predicted 8 laps to go, so Mackay will have to do 16 again. But Adam Hughes, if he's going to make this to the end without another stop, having done 17 laps and then 14 laps, he's going to need to go from lap 31, 19 laps, I think. Yes, to get to the end, which no one has done, even when we had 2 laps under safety car.
Yeah.
Only way I see it working is if you give up 4 or 5 seconds per lap, and in which case Andrew Dutch and Russell Pepperell are already going to get you and cook you, and maybe even Brad Coates, and you'll be dropping out of the top 5. He's clearly, from what you've seen, giving it a red hot go.
I mean, the thing for Adam Hughes is he knows he's going to fall a long way back. So at this point, why not?
It would be interesting if the 5 seconds for Sproul and Dutch played into this.
It might.
Russell Pepperell second place, question mark?
Yeah, well, yeah. And Dutch has got to continue to try and disappear it. And the problem with Spa is that you're so long on full throttle with a bit of that toe. It's going to be a very difficult ask. Sproul is not saving fuel anywhere near as much, and he stopped at the end of lap 32. And look at the margins that he's taken out. So either, well, Sproul, remember Sproul had the spin, but his pit stop was 6 seconds quicker than Adam Hughes.
Hughes's was odd.
Stupidly long, yeah.
It was longer than the fuel. It was like he did the fuel and then halfway through the fuel realized he wanted to change 4 tires or something. It doesn't, I don't get it. Maybe he had some repairs that he just wanted to tidy up, but you can see that Sproul, having stopped a lap later, not needing to save as much. The pace is dropping even further off for Adam Hughes, 219.1. You look at Andrew Dutch about to cross the lap in the 217s. Save Pepperell. And there we go. So it went from 218.5, 218.9, 219.1. It's a Sisyphean kind of task here. Once you're in the hole, trying to save even more fuel. I think of it like, you know, you're in a glider, 2,000 feet, and you're 20 kilometers away from the runway, and as you get closer towards the runway, you're losing altitude, you're making sort of an angle, and if you get halfway and go, oh, actually, I'm halfway there, but I've lost more than half of my altitude, you're really in trouble trying to make it to that finish line. If you're not on top of the fuel saving from the start of the stint, you get yourself into some really deep holes.
Yeah. It is far easier to save 3 laps of fuel over 2 hours than it is to save 3 laps of fuel over 40 minutes. That margin becomes significantly harder. Albeit for Adam Hughes, he was right on the strategy. He was in a better spot than Sam Sproul in that second stage, the second stint of the race, because he went longer in that first stint. So I'm just curious as to what triggered the undercut.
I mean, let's make it clear, I won't be invoicing OPR for my services.
No, yeah.
I am
It's just
liking seeing
weird.
the flags now in iRacing, but it does just make me wish that New Zealand had gone with the laser kiwi, because think of it, every place that you put your country's flag, New Zealand would be the world's coolest country, not even close.
Yeah,
People
100%
not
would be.
New Zealanders on iRacing would be picking New Zealand so that they could have laser kiwi on their car.
Think about the amount of tourism dollars that it would sell for the country.
I mean, I'm still buying Whitakers regardless, but
Andrew Dutch, I think he's cleared his fuel save now because he is not saving anymore. He is pressing on, and he's very, very close to shaking loose Russell Pepperell at the moment from the draft. Once that happens, he'll have himself 5 laps to make up 4 seconds to clear the penalty.
yeah, those guys have just crossed the start-finish line with 6 laps to go. And so the group that you see here, Trent Stapleton and Bobby Camo, the 6 laps to go for them when they cross the start-finish line. Trent Stapleton last pitted 12 laps ago. Bobby Camo last pitted 10 laps ago. So it'll be a 16-lap stint for Camo. It'll be 18 if Trent Stapleton can manage it. I'm already ready to cringe seeing drivers on this Spa endurance pits make a splash and dash with 2 or 1 laps to go.
Well, Adam Hughes, just listening to the onboard shots of him, he didn't touch the throttle over the Lacombe chicane. He waited till he bounced out the other side and was starting to accelerate away from it that he touched the throttle. That's how much he's trying to save.
Each lap slower than the one before makes you think that if this is what you were trying to do, you should have been doing 2:19 flats 5 laps ago rather than doing 2:18 5s, 2:18.5, 2:18.9, 2:19.1, 2:19.6. I mean, what's this? Is this going to be a 2:20?
He's not going to make it. He's not going to make it. There's no...
Sproul's pace has also backed off to match it as well.
Well, see, Sproul's short as well. But Sproul's, 2 laps better. One lap better.
See, this
one
is the
lap better.
comparison. Our director, Jay Kennedy, is on it. The comparison is Sproul to Dutch, and then Dutch is like, okay, 1.5 seconds out of you guys that lap. Probably 1.5 this, 2 the next, who knows?
And Andrew Dutch is actually directly racing Sam Sproul. And the reason that we can say they are directly racing each other is they both have the 5-second penalty. At this pace, Dutch is going to get Sproul not the lap they're about to start, but the one following, which will be lap number 47. 45 laps complete as they cross the start-finish line this time by. When I said to you, an hour ago, I apologise for how dismal and how dry this race right now. It was because we were looking at this final 15 minutes. It always spices up all the way back here, but it does take a while to get there. And now we are into the spiciest part of the race. The problem for Andrew Dutch is he only took 0.7 of a second out of Sam Sproul on that lap. So I think Sproul can respond a little bit in terms of pace.
Yeah, Sproul found a 2:18.5. Hughes went back into the 2:18s just. Bobby Camo wide out of Blanchimont. And down the inside of the bus stop. Gets the stoppers on and goes ahead of Trent Stapleton now.
Look at the marbles, though, that were in the build-up on that shot.
Stapleton decided he needs to save a la Adam Hughes spec or
Whether or not the tyres are just going off the front end of the thing. Where is Brad Coates in terms of fuel strategy? He should be in what? This lap? He's got max 2 laps worth of fuel.
yeah, probably not this time by, but the next. So pitting with 3 laps to go. There, Brad Coates is in 6th. So you see that he last stopped on lap 31, like Adam Hughes. Everyone who stopped on lap 34 or 35, those are the drivers that are David Haynes certified.
Oh man, the Acura at the hands of Hughes is short shifting, and there is very little of that engine used at this point in time. It has been thrashed, and pace has been forced out of it to this point on the night. And right now, I can guarantee the engine temperature is cooling off massively, because there is just not quite enough gas going through that engine.
They sold 19,000 NSXs of the first generation and sold 2,900 of the generation here that has the GT3 car. Surprisingly scarce and rare car is the second generation NSX.
Well,
I think Porsche have sold more Cup cars than Honda have sold road-going NSXs.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Yeah. So, although, what spec are you talking about? All specs of Porsche Cup car ever?
I think probably from 991 to now.
Yeah.
probably moved. There's easily hundreds in Australia, and that means that there'd be another, 200 in Germany, 100 in the UK. It adds up to 1,000 globally very, very quickly.
Yeah. And again,
Merc GT3 had moved more than 500 units.
have a look at the timer on the clock now. Underneath 6 minutes to go, which means 3 laps left when we get back to the start-finish line. I reckon we are going to get all 3. Dean Mackay at the moment is on his run out of the final chicane. There is going to be 3 more laps left, because there is more than enough room to get 2 in, and the third one will bring us to conclusion just after the conclusion of the 2-hour mark.
And while we race started and restarted in this part of the racetrack, heading down past the classic pit lane to Eau Rouge and Radion, the checkered flag and the end of the race will be in the hands of Barney there, out of the bus stop at the typical GP timing line.
And this is getting closer. This is getting closer. The margin now from Andrew Dutch through Sam Sproul is 1.4 seconds. The margin to Adam Hughes is under 2 seconds as they cross the start-finish line. 3 more laps left to run.
Brad Coates pits when we thought he would. 3 to go for Brad Coates, making his 3rd stop of the race. It's going to be a pretty painful one, because there's 55 seconds of bouncing on the rev limiter and the pit lane speed limiter for him before he gets to his pit stall and adds, 10 seconds of fuel maybe. He's losing out some spots now. He might get back though if some of these other guys really cough and splutter and struggle on the final lap or don't make it to the end. Adam Hughes is beginning his 17th lap of this stint, and he's dropping back.
Yeah. There's nothing you can do. Sam Sproul will have to go. And the problem is Sam Sproul's going to go around and then start to try and disappear. And Dutch is going to be right there. Margin is now less than a second. He's lost a second as Adam Hughes, between the timing being to start this lap and the end of the Campbell Straight. Now they'll dive down to Rivage. Margin under a second as we drop away to the bottom of the hill. And Hughes is not going to make. There's no way he makes this and lands on the podium.
Really looking good for Andrew Dutch right now. We ride from his nose, looking at Adam Hughes. Sam Sproul just up the road, also in a slightly precarious fuel situation. We know it's sort of equal Dutch versus Sproul, because they're both carrying a 5-second penalty. Every single braking zone, you close half a second or more. So presumably at the next one, like at the very next one, Dutch might be able to go for it. Not quite. The bus stop at a very minimum. Are there some other drivers this time around? 2 laps to go who we're going to see hitting pit lane. Dutch is looking at a podium.
Dutch is absolutely looking at a podium. Now the margin is, how close can he get? He knows that Adam Hughes has got to fuel save. But when does Hughes start to lift? When does he start to prop him? And the thing for Dutch is that he'll just come through Blanchimont now and he'll just look to get alongside because he doesn't want to follow him in here. Is he going to cover? No, he won't even try and cover him to the right-hand side of the road. Dutch will get in here. Nice and deep. Hughes will go the long way around. Sproul won't make it. Sproul's not going to make it. Hughes is going to try. Sproul throws up the white flag. The battle becomes the position for P2 on the road. And Hughes is starting to recover in terms of his pace. The problem for Dutch is he's got to get clear here and then build 5 seconds. Otherwise, he loses this spot. Pepperell will also eclipse him at this point in time now as well. Owen Coleman's gone through for another lap. And it's a battle on track for P2. But Hughes is just trying to break Dutch. He's just trying to prevent him. Every meter that Adam Hughes spends in front of Andrew Dutch is another meter that Dutch does not have to build the margin. Has Hughes done enough? I've got to say, he's done an impressive amount of fuel saving, but if he can get 18 laps, it's at the end of this current lap. He goes no further.
Dutch had a really good opportunity at the source, but as he went around the outside, he went too deep, he went too wide into the gravel.
And it is still on. Hughes' pace has recovered. And that says to me, either he's made it or he's thrown the white flag as well.
I think it's got to be throwing the towel, right? Like, it's crazy that that he could stop saving and go flat out here. It just doesn't feel right to me that would be possible or available to him. Perhaps this offers opportunity to Pepperell.
I just saw Andrew Dutch short shift. Dutch has gone on a fuel save. Dutch is massively fuel saving. So is Andrew Dutch short after all this is said and done? Has he missed the number? Dean Mackay will come to the white flag. He'll have no clue that all of this gaming is going on in behind him. Dutch is short.
Maybe Dutch was looking at the clock and thinking, okay, this is how many laps are going to be left.
He's got a lap and a half.
It factors based on where Dean Mackay is. So there was less than 2 minutes last time Andrew Dutch crossed the line, but there was no white flag then because Dean Mackay was further up the road and Pepperell suddenly looks better. Yeah, this is dropping back massively from Dutch. Who pits in? Who stays out? Who will be on the podium? Can Pepperell come through and sweep to second?
Well, the last time in the limited series, and I'm not talking about the round. There's Hughes. We were expecting that when his pace started to recover. I went, there's no way he makes it. Dutch is going to struggle to make this. Pepperell will scoot on through, and the margin becomes relevant back to Owen Coleman now.
Because Pepperell gets second either way with that 5 seconds coming, but if he could do it on track, he'd want to, and Dutch was a little worried about it. Dean Mackay's halfway around his final lap. Owen
Coleman's in.
Also making another stop.
I thought for sure with the position that Owen Coleman was in, he would have just gone to... Oh. What has happened?
Told you I was going to cringe in the last 2 laps, and it might not be the only ones. That's where Sproul has ended up. What about this for second? Here he goes.
And this was, remember, Pepperell let him go a couple times. And Pepperell was just thinking, I've got to save the fuel. Now, it will be academic, these two fighting it out on track, but what will be critical is can Dutch make the... If Dutch coughs, splutters and dies and loses 15 seconds on this lap, you know Adam Jepson could come back through and steal third.
That was Hughes rejoining. He's just behind his teammate Sproul. They're 6th and 7th. Dean Mackay has not only been really quick in terms of race pace, he's also managed the strategy perfectly when those behind him couldn't.
We won't even talk about Dean Mackay. He's that far out in front at the moment. It's just, we're looking at daylight. We are looking at absolute daylight that he's ahead. For Dean Mackay, it will be 45 seconds or so the race win. The lights will flash. And now we sit back and wait because it's going to be some time. Russell Pepperell, remember at the top end of this stint, I said we've got to keep an eye on this because Pepperell was saving early. What were they going to do? What was the mindset? And Pepperell picked his mark. He knew that he had to save fuel. Andrew Dutch must have got the number of laps left wrong. The fastest lap of the race will be set on the last lap of the race for Dean Mackay. For Andrew Dutch, does he make the line? Will he run out of fuel? They'll climb out of the final chicane, which means you've got to have juice left in the tank. It hasn't coughed. It hasn't spluttered yet. Pepperell gets home and Nick's P2. And for Andrew Dutch, well, it'll be what could have been, but it'll also be we survived.
I mean, that's a great race from Pepperell and Dutch, because Pepperell's come from 7th on the grid to 2nd. Dutch has come from the back of the grid to 3rd, even if he didn't quite manage the final stint perfectly. Without a spin or two, Adam Jepson could have been on the podium because he managed the strategy really well and goes from 6th on the grid to 4th. Saxon is coming around in 5th with the teammates Hughes and Sproul, ran most of this race in 2nd and 3rd. You're kidding me.
Well, he splashed. And he didn't. He's not going to make the line. Neither of them are going to make the line.
No, this has got to be something. This has got to be a thing that.
Whoa! And there's more contact going on in the background, and I wonder whether or not there'll be a redress involved in this one. Is that Owen Coleman? I think it is Owen Coleman. Sproul won't get home. It was Coleman and Brad Coates. No, this is. I'm all lost.
That's Trent Naylor, I think.
Is Owen Coleman going back to pick up Sam Sproul? I think he is.
I think he's gonna try to push him over the line here.
And he gets DQ'd!
Reverse too far. Can't do that.
Oh, what?
Guess who's got tyres and fuel left?
Well, he didn't need to burn them, so he can do whatever the damn hell he likes. And I was keeping half an eye on what happened to Andrew Dutch. How much fuel did he have left over? He got to La Source. He got maybe 100 meters out of La Source. It cough spotted and died. You have got to be kidding me. The thing is with the Premier Endurance League is it's become a strategy game, and it means that we wait for the final 10 minutes of the race before we can actually start saying exactly where everyone is going to shake out. The one driver that we knew was going to finish exactly where they were was Dean Mackay, because he took the strategy, he planned for it, he put it in the right position very, very early on, and we always knew that he was looking comfortable to win that one, and will do so quite comfortably. Russell Pepperell sat in 2nd place in this race for precisely 2 laps. Until that point, he was looking like he was on the podium, but he wasn't confident where it might have been. Andrew Dutch will come home in P3. He coughs, splutters and dies, but he makes it back to the start-finish line. And there was an element, there will be a league reference in here, a hidden one, of Jimmy Middleton in that one from the last time that the series came to Spa in the limited format, because it was a fuel race as well. Adam Jepson recovers after a big spin to finish in 4th spot. Jamie Saxon played the fuel strategy with a little bit of mastery, as did Bobby Camo. The guys that didn't, Adam Hughes from Brad Coates, Trent Naylor, Trent Stapleton down to your top 10. Oh my word. Sam Sproul does not get to the finish line under his own power. He will be the last car home on the lead lap. Owen Coleman did actually cross the start. So what Coleman was doing was he went and crossed the start-finish line, and that's when he reversed back and tried to go backwards to try and pick up Sam Sproul. So he will cross the start-finish line, pick that one off ahead of Sam Sproul. Both of them on the lead lap by that scoring metric. Patrick Reardon will be home off the lead lap, as with Daniel Coleman. PJ Whiteman will join the Mark Foster 8 laps down after the damage late on, and this is where we get into the retirements. Logan Murphy, Rick Provenzali, Leith McClement, Matty Gerard was very, very early on. He'll have a penalty to serve at the next round as well for an unapproved show, and that was the last of the drivers home. Darcy Inwood did register for the server, did not make it back in time to join the race. That was... You know what? I'm going to say probably the best thing is it was like a good roast, David Haynes. Slow to get where it needed to go, but when it was there, all the better for it.
2 hours and 15 minutes ago, I said this is one of the longest pit lanes you'll ever encounter anywhere. Avoid a splash and dash, if at all possible. And that was critical to the way it played out right towards the end of that final stint.
And the David Haynes Magic 8 Ball is now available on davidhaynes.com. Well, we'll get an opportunity to have a quick chat to our podium, and we'll talk to the driver who had probably the easiest race of the night. There was one little goings on early on in that one with Dean Mackay with a little bit of contact with Adam Hughes, and then you went about your fuel saving business, you went about your racing business, and I bet you have no idea how much drama happened in the final 2 laps, 45 seconds in your rearview mirror.
I've heard a lot of things just talking to Andrew Dutch. But yeah, seems like a lot went on in the final couple laps, but I was yeah, pretty happy out the front. So yeah, my pace was really good tonight. I think mostly due to everyone not having setups and having to make their own. I'm pretty experienced in the Porsche, so I got the car to a point where I was pretty comfortable and yeah, pretty happy with the pace.
Well, that's the big thing that we sort of did notice and said we did get an opportunity to review the pole lap as well. The car looked smoothly pointed towards the apex. There wasn't much soaring of the wheel going on. It looked very nice and balanced, and that was sort of the biggest thing heading into this one. New time model though, how much did that play into the preparations that were ongoing there? Because that we've not had much of an opportunity to tinker around with it. Was it? Did you need to bring the tire in a fair bit more gently? Was fuel maybe the more major concern in that opening stint?
But yeah, the tire model changed everything really. Because I know Adam and Sam, two guys behind me on the first stop, pretty sure they tried to double stint the tires, and it almost worked. But I was just able to keep out in front of them, and I think their tires dropped off quite a lot towards the end of the second stint. Also on race starts, cold tires are really brutal. Like, yeah, there's just absolutely zero grip, and yeah, you're able to really save the tires for certain points in the stint as well, which yeah, definitely could not do before.
Righto, mate. Well, we'll give you the opportunity to give a thank you to everyone that makes it possible for yourself and the TriStar Racing outfit.
Yeah, big thanks to TriStar Racing and our sponsor, Astra Energy.
Thank you very much for joining us, Dean, and we'll see you in action from Suzuka for the final round in a couple weeks' time, brother. Thank you very much for the chat.
Cheers, guys.
Righto, we will take a jump 2 steps down the podium where David Haynes will have Andrew Dutch ready for a little bit of a chat.
No doubt a very exciting back half of the race for you there, Andrew. Let's sort of talk about, as we have to, about the changes to GT3s and tyres and how you feel it worked for the McLaren.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in the seat this past week going through every car and found out that McLaren was best, hence why I changed from the Mustang tonight to give it a crack. So obviously scored no points, but yeah, McLaren feels best out of the lot, along with the Porsche, to be honest. So it was actually a nice change. Handles a lot better than the Mustang. So yeah, panicked a bit at the end there because I realised, hey, I'm not going to have enough fuel, so I had to nurse it around for the last lap.
There's a couple of sort of can I keep it flat corners around here, like Blanchimont, like Radeon, that seem to really work well for the McLaren. You found yourself getting a good run onto some of the straights?
Yeah, I did, mate. I had a few hairy moments, obviously, on cold tyres. It probably takes about 3 to 4 laps for the Macca to actually warm its tyres up properly, and then you can just go for it. It's an absolute gun. So I noticed with I think it was Russell in front of me. I was gaining on through Eau Rouge and Blanchimont. So it is just such a fun car to drive now.
And winding back all the way to the start, talk us through your sort of strategy and how it evolved from your thoughts pre-race to the safety car to all of the stints and stops in between.
Well, my thoughts pre-race were, like I said, because I changed cars, so I was not going to get points for this sort of sort. I set myself a top 10 goal, and just to see how the Macca went in a race environment, because I've only been doing testing on my own, so I just wanted to see how it felt in dirty air with other cars and whatnot. So I had zero expectations, and then obviously I gained, I think, 10 positions on the first lap, so that kind of went out the window. I'm like, hey, I'll see how far I can push this thing, and yeah, ended up third. So there was absolutely no strategy from me, hey, tonight, none at all.
Well, it worked out well enough. You reckon you gained that 5 seconds from warming the tyres when you weren't supposed to? Like,
Yeah,
is that the game? Can we get 5 seconds of
no,
first lap performance out of it?
No, none whatsoever. I didn't. I wasn't even listening to the race control when they said safety cars pulling away. So that was my own stupid fault there. But yeah, there's the tyre warming. It's next to non-existent. So you're best off doing the Iceman Kimi Räikkönen and just driving in a straight line. To be brutally honest.
I know exactly the clip you're referencing. Hope you've had a great weekend. Hope you have a great week, and congrats on this result. Plenty of time watching your battles throughout the field, and yeah, thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thanks, boys. Have a good night.
Well, that is going to wrap things up here from Spa-Francorchamps. There is one more round left in the GT3 Open Series. It will be coming our way from Suzuka at the back end of July. As we head on the way out of winter in Australia, what will Suzuka have for us? Will it keep us warm through the back end of the coldest days of the year? Or will it put a final frosty note? That is all to come on Saturday, the 26th of July from 7:45 p.m. By the way, it's July, not July, May, out of those dates as well. In the background, our producer noticed very, very quickly and wanted to point that out for all the fans going at home. Thank you very much to everyone who's been tuning in throughout the back end of that one. That was a cracker, Dave, to bring us to the tail end and the end of the penultimate round of the season. So I guess for the remainder of the season, fuel battles are going to continue to be a thing moving forwards.
It was like a Christmas cracker that took an hour and 58 to pull apart, because right at the end the pop was phenomenal. A great drive all around by Dean Mackay, but yeah, the Spa endurance layout I think made the difference today for 2 hours of GT3 racing.
Would you say it was more like a stick of dynamite with an hour and 55 minutes worth of priming cable?
It was a long fuse on that big boom, yeah. I'm telling you.
Oh, it was brilliant when it finally went off. If you guys want to find out if there'll be another long fuse, join us in a couple of weeks when we go for the final round of the Open Series. But the next round of the Limited Series is on our way as well. So keep your eyes open on all the Premier Endurance League social medias as well. On behalf of the entire SimSpeed crew, on behalf of the Premier Endurance League, and with a big shout out to primary naming rights sponsor Gamer Gear Direct, this has been another race from the Premier Endurance League.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.